What is going on, everybody? Thanks for being here. I guess I'll officially get to the live stream in a couple minutes. I always like to let it warm up for a few. I'm doing this unannounced. I didn't let anybody know that I was going to start live streaming, so I want to give everybody the chance to figure it out, check it out. I think we'll do some phone calls tonight. Let me put the number up on the screen here for a second. How can I do this? Ah, yes, there it is. Right there, 510-343-3640. Don't call yet. I'm not ready for you yet. In fact, it's not set up to take the calls yet. So don't call yet. But eventually, that's how to do it. All right? I'll be right back. We'll be ready to go. All right, we are ready to go. Thanks for checking out the live stream here on a Tuesday night. That's right. What day is it? It's Tuesday. I'm losing track of the days, the dates. Oh, gotta hit record here. I want to save the stream. Oops, I'm on this camera. I'm all over the place. Hang on, everybody. And I love where everybody's checking in from tonight. This is awesome. We've got Terre Haute, Indiana. That's awesome. Oakland, represent. Vince saying, yeah, people from all over. San Jose, Modesto, Arizona. Let's see what else is in the chat here. Modesto. I like Laura checking in. OMG, how are you? I'm doing great. I know where you're at. I guarantee I know where you're at. A Kings game at the Tank? You're in San Jose. By the way, I will cheat here and tell everybody that I do have the stream on over there, so I have been keeping an eye on the game. I'm slightly less interested because I'm not working tonight, and I know what the score is, so I'm no dummy. But I appreciate that, Laura, for you checking in. Drew's watching from Cancun. Drew, sounds like you're on a holiday. Are you having fun down there? I hope so. It's probably 84 degrees. You probably were out in the sun all day, at the beach. You might have a frosty beverage in your hand right now. At least that's what I'm imagining. Mark's watching from Bakersfield. That's a little bit of a contrast to Cancun. Love Bakersfield, no disrespect, but not many places are like Cancun. We got Rippin checking in. San Jose. Nick Cap in Maine. I love it. We got Chicago in the house. We got hello from Toronto. Hello from the Tampa Bay Area. Ooh, you got the Bolts logo there. Hockey fan, I love it. San Jose, born and raised. Actually, oh, you're in New Jersey. That's Laura. Okay. You had to go see Timo Meier. Good for you. I hope it was worth the trip. Right field, Will. Right field, Will. What's up, buddy? Thanks for checking in, man. You're taking time away from a Sharks game to be on this stream? Look at you. Everyone like this video. Boost me up. You know I always appreciate it. Watching from home, can see the strip. Oh, like Las Vegas strip from your house. Congratulations. Martin's watching from Alameda. Tom in Milwaukee. I love it. Chris is watching from Seattle. The lovely Pacific Northwest. You know what? I am overdue for a visit to Seattle. It's been way too long, way too many years. I love me some Seattle. Jay's also watching from Toronto. Orangevale, California. Brody's hosting from his house tonight. That's right, the home studio. Chico checking in. A's fan Jim. Hopefully you're Sierra Nevada fan Jim too, if you know what I mean. I am. I mean, if you're from Chico, come on, you gotta be, right? Oh, right field Will, not a big fan of ESPN Plus. It's hard being a national broadcaster and then calling the local and regional games. Nobody does it like the people you're used to. For LA or the Bay, right? So, I get it. That's a common sentiment. We on the regional side, we always appreciate that. James checking in from Payson, Utah. I'm going to have to look up all these places, by the way. Sharks Fangirl, hi, watching from the Sharks game. Wow. I'm on at the tank, which is, I don't know. I mean, I'm usually on from the tank, but I feel extra special tonight. I'm just peeking in on the game over here. Looks like they're in a replay right now. Did the Kings score? No, almost. Still 3-0. Oh my goodness. Shots are 25-9. We've just started the third period, and the Sharks have 9 total shots the entire game. A lot of those games, though, lately this season for the Sharks, even in games they win, low shot totals for both teams. Just an option from Cohen Home. Not familiar with where that's at, but thanks for watching. Brody, I love the videos of behind-the-scenes area of SAP Center, but I've been asking for years for a behind-the-scenes look of the labyrinths under the Coliseum. You know what? Maybe I'll have to dedicate some specific time this year, in case this is the final year, to the Coliseum, to documenting it, to capturing it, to remembering it forever no matter what, but especially because of the circumstances. Damon checking in from Woodstock, Georgia. I didn't know there was a Woodstock, Georgia. Watching from North Carolina. Daniel saying, thank you for all you've done. Dan in Vallejo. Dan, thank you for checking in from the 707. Right field Will needs Han Solo, as in Randy Han. But not Solo, Mr. Clean. You're making a ball joke at Drew, aren't you? Yeah. Well done, actually. Sharks fan here in Golden Knight hell. Yeah, it's hard when they win the cup, and then you still want to talk about the 2019 Game 7, huh? It's hard to vibe on that. Kansas City! I actually flew right over Kansas City a couple weeks ago on the way out to Nashville. It was getting dark, and I look out the window, and I'm like, what is that big, section of lights out there? That big burst of lights. Oh, check the map. That's just Kansas City, off to the left. Haven't been there in a while either. Who do I think will win the Super Bowl. You know what? I'll say this. I mean, here in the Bay Area, this has been brewing, it feels like, for about a year. And going back to quarterback controversies of Jimmy G and then Trey Lance and then now Brock Purdy, and even Brock Purdy can't be perfect when he's perfect. There's always this weird fascination and criticism of quarterbacks, and the team is not perfect. No, I think the team is perfect. They had the little rut. They had a bye week. They've come back and bounced back like to perfection ever since. The 49ers have to be the front runner to at least be in the Super Bowl, and at this point likely win the Super Bowl in Las Vegas. That being said, how many times have we seen in sports where the bigger they are, the harder they fall? And I don't want to get too deep here into the 49ers part of this, but you just have to make sure that all the loose ends get tied up. You're certainly hoping to stay healthy, and I know there was a little bit of a scare for Brock last week in the game. But you really have to hope that you get health, you get a team that plays the way they're capable of all season long, and can just shed any type of weird criticism. Like, how do you criticize the 49ers, tops of the standings in the NFL, and have won all of the important games, the decisive games? They've won by enough. Like, they've done what they've supposed to do. And yeah, they had a little skid. It was in October into November. I'm trying to remember when that all went down. And things looked like they were turning for the worse, and they figured it out. So I just hope that they can take the cushion they have, feel confident about that, but not too comfortable with that. And again, at this point, they've got to be favorites to get to the Super Bowl, if not win the whole darn thing. Matthew says, I like our goalie tandem. They're both playing great. I fully agree with you. In fact, this is something I've been saying for the last couple weeks. As the team has turned it around, started winning road games, started scoring road goals, playing a little bit better defensively in front of Kaapo Kähkönen and in front of, oh my gosh, I'm having Mackenzie Blackwood. I'm glad that wasn't on TV. It's only a live stream. I'm like, I can see his face. I can see all his highlights in my brain, but I can't remember the name Mackenzie Blackwood. There you go. But Mackenzie Blackwood and Kaapo Kähkönen, honestly, in Sharks history of recent years, you've always had one guy maybe playing better than the other. A little bit or a lot bit, right? And there's always been more of a clear-cut number one and who should probably get the majority of the starting assignments. But even year to year, like in a season, that changes. Maybe one guy started the year hot, the other guy ends the year hot. But this year, and wipe away the first 11 to 15 games or whatnot anyway, because it's hard to blame the goalies. In fact, I think Blackwood and Kähkönen were both really good in that span, but obviously got no credit because of the results. I think right here, right now, might be the best Sharks goalie tandem we've seen since the days of Kiprusoff, Vesa Toskala, and Evgeny Nabokov, honestly. They've got two really good goalies performing at a high level. And quite honestly, any night, it doesn't matter to me who gets the start. I think that each guy is giving the Sharks a really good chance to win. And so I think you have to sometimes step back and realize how fortunate the Sharks are to be in that situation where, you know, they don't have a letdown on the off nights. And that's why I think David Quinn is really alternating. I mean, it's a true alternation right now. 1-2, 1-2. I shouldn't even say that. It's really A-B, or A. He's bouncing back and forth because you got to keep both guys fresh. You got to give them both opportunities and looks. But I really don't even think at this point you want to be splitting you don't want to be giving one guy or the other a majority of the time. You really do want to be splitting the time almost as evenly as possible. Oh man, I got behind on the questions here. Gary watching from Emerald Hills. All right. Tyson watching from a rainy Gilbert, Arizona. I do know where that's at. You're here at Steve Cohen's home cooking Yamamoto dinner. Oh, because the Yamamoto visit and the dinner with Cohen and the Mets are trying. I get it. Okay. I get it. The Mets are after Yamamoto. Okay. All right. I get it. Oh, how about this one? J-Meister, 24, Mesa, Arizona. You live a mile and a half away from Hohokam. All right. Well, Maybe I'll be down there for spring training in a couple weeks or months. Maybe I won't. I don't know yet. I really don't know yet. Dadpool, watching from Rome, New York. Not Italy, Rome, New York. I appreciate that. Yeah, great content creator and so honest and informative. I try, and that is the intention. And it warms my heart when somebody nails exactly what I'm trying to do. Sometimes you get random compliments. You're like, yeah, I'll take that. Didn't expect that. But when it's what I'm exactly trying to do, it really means a lot. Woodstock, Georgia, 25 miles north of Atlanta. I've heard of Atlanta. They've got a baseball team there, don't they? They've got a couple former Oakland A's out there, don't they? The Super Bowl tickets here in Vegas, the most expensive ever. $9,000 minimum? You know, Michael, something I found out early on in my career, I went to was that the Super Bowl in 2002? It was the Raiders and Tampa, right? And the Raiders got blown out. But it was in San Diego. And the thing I realized about the Super Bowl is just how divided the stadium was. Like there were two fan bases, one on each side of the field or stadium, but really it didn't take up the whole stadium. Those were just a handful of sections. The rest of the stadium was literally split up between all the other teams, owners and sponsors. And it's so much more of like a neutral site. I mean, it is a neutral site, but it really doesn't have both teams like fully representing the crowd. It's a corporate event, I guess. That's probably the best way to say it. If you actually go to a Super Bowl, it's such a large-scale media and corporate event. It's almost like it's a made-for-television thing, which it kind of is. But when you attend it, you're like, this is weird. This isn't actually even like a football game. I mean, it is, and they're playing, and there's a halftime show, but it's more like a presentation than it is the typical NFL game that you might go to. And to see that Super Bowl tickets are $9,000 minimum, it's kind of no surprise, right? The first time in Las Vegas, the new stadium, the scarcity, I suppose, of tickets, although I think Allegiant probably can fit close to 70 if they really pack them in there. So it's not the smallest venue by any means, but probably the most highly anticipated when you think about hotel packages, travel accommodations, and, oh yeah, actually getting in the door. And not only $9,000 is a barrier, but how about just the ability to get tickets? Like I said, the way tickets are distributed for the Super Bowl and the NFL, it goes out to all the respective teams. Yeah, the two teams that are playing in it, they get a little bit more of a sample in certain fan sections, but for the most part, it's all about spreading the tickets out across the league. You know, I said we were going to do phone calls, and we have not got to that point yet. I do see somebody in the super chat. And I like to put all the super chat comments up, okay? I won't even read it. I'll flash it on the screen. J. Roy, thank you very much for being in the super chat. I really appreciate it. I don't know what you want me to say to that, but thank you very much for contributing to the channel. M0 watching from Quebec City. Man, we are international tonight. Yeah, I'm keeping an eye on the score. Let me take a look here. How are the shots doing here? It's got a little zone time graphic. The Sharks have been in the offensive zone for 30 seconds. Looks like they're trying to get something going here. Oh, 30-11 is the shot clock right now. 3-0 is still the score. Yoko, thanks for making great sports and aviation content. Oh, yeah, I have the aviation channel. I've really put no effort into that recently, but I will get into the Home Studio Pro channel a little bit more here sooner than later. Pioneer 863 from Minneapolis. Loving that and appreciate that. Eric, hockey is one sport I can't get into. I can help you with that. You need to go to a game in person. Now, this is really awkward for somebody like me who covers hockey on television and wants you to watch hockey games on television. I really do, right? But to get hooked on it, before you start watching it a bunch on television, I feel like the requirement is to actually go to a game. Go to the Tank, and you don't even have to get the most expensive seats, quite honestly. Some people feel like when you go to a hockey game, you got to sit on the glass, you got to bang on it, you got to really feel the physicality, and that's all nice. Trust me, I've spent hundreds of hours ringside, and it is amazing. Like, you do get a true experience from down there. But if you actually sit in the upper part of the first deck, or quite honestly, the lower part of the second deck, and in hockey, there's no real bad seat like at the tank, but especially if you sit in one of those areas, I would even say to start, sit on the bottom half of the second deck. You'll get a nice wide view of the entire rink. You'll watch shift changes. You'll watch strategy and movement and constant movement, literally. And it's so foreign to most like North American sports fans who haven't watched hockey. And all they've ever watched is baseball or football or basketball. And there's always a lot of breaks in the play. And don't get me wrong, like there's whistles in hockey too, but the gameplay is so continual back and forth. And there are, new elements like being on a power play. I mean, in basketball, there's never really a 5-on-4 or a 4-on-3 unless it's like a fast break situation. But I'm saying there are so many nuances and fun things to watch about hockey that are unlike anything else. And the skating alone. I would also recommend this for you. Put on a pair of skates if you've never done so before. And this is the holiday season, right? There's pop-up rinks and pop-up sheets of ice and skating venues all over the place right now. Go skate a little bit. And then right after you skate, remember how it was, and remember your ankles bending and trying to stand up straight and stride and glide and maybe go backwards. And then watch these NHLers do what they do while skating, while competing, while playing a very difficult game with sticks and a puck. So I think the two things I would say for anybody starting in hockey, wants to get into it, doesn't understand it, kind of like what you said, Eric, you can't get into it unless you've done two things. Number one, go to an actual game. I mean, if you love the physicality of football, hockey's got it. If you love kind of the back and forth of the NBA, fast break action, hockey's got that too. And it's a combination of both. It's something a little bit different, but go to a game, soak it in person, have a beer while you're there too, if you're 21. And also make sure you put on some skates and just try skating out a little bit. I guarantee those two things alone, speaking for myself, and 1991 or 2 or 3 Brody Brazil, like that kid will tell you that's how you get hooked. Trust me. I'm right there. I'm right there with that story. So, Eric, I hope this sunk in a little bit. I hope you do get around to it. All right. What's up next here? Auburn. When am I getting a job at MLB.TV or MLB TV? Probably not anytime soon, unless they're going to let me do it from here at home, which I think they do, actually. They have some shows where the hosts are from home, so I could do it. I'd be happy to do it if that's the circumstance, but I don't think I'm going to be going across the country for work at this point. Let's see here. Last row, lower bowl, where the red line is at. So basically, center ice, last row of the first deck, best view in hockey. Tim from the 203. I agree, and I actually kind of like to be up even a little bit higher. I'll tell you what, I like to actually be on the end zones, shall we say. I know there's no end zone, but the inboards side of the rink. And actually, you can watch play come at you and go the other way. That's also a different perspective, too. Instead of the left-right, it's more of the away from you, at you type perspective. But again, I think it's almost in the way of football, how if you sit down low, you really can't see all the formations and details and routes. But if you sit up just a little bit higher, it seems more amazing. Now, don't get me wrong. Eventually, go down and, sit as close as you can. But that's not a necessity to start enjoying it. Okay, what does everybody say here that we start the phone call portion of the program here? Let me log in here. Let me get this going. 510-343-3640. I think we're up and running. So if anybody wants to be the first caller, you can have that opportunity literally right now. And this is where I put myself out there. I have no clue who's going to call, what we'll talk about. Oh, looks like we're not even waiting very long for that. From the 925. Hello, who's this from the 925?
Brody Brazil, what's going on, my man?
Do you want to introduce yourself?
Right field Will here, or cheap seat Will in hockey.
It only took me like 2 seconds to hear your first few words. Oops, hang on a second. Uh-oh, I screwed something up. Did I cut you off?
No, I'm still here, bud.
Oh, sorry. Hang on 1 second. Oh, I see what's happening
You got
here.
it.
I see what's happening here. I'm getting call waiting. All right, hang on a second. Decline. Sorry about that. Okay, hang on. Hang on. I'm fighting through this here. Okay, wait a second. And okay, we're good. I cleared that. So what's going on, Will?
Oh, not much, buddy. Just figured I'm glad to see you doing a live stream. Glad you're taking phone calls. Figured I'd call and talk to you. It's been a bit.
How are you hanging in there, by the way? All this news, all these developments, it's a taxing time on all of us who have followed and covered and been passionate about the A's.
It's not a lot of fun. I still occasionally wear my Oakland A's items out in public, and I sometimes immediately regret it because I have people being a little smart, give me some smart comments. Of course, it's not a lot of fun, but it's hard to just give up on something you've loved your entire life.
What's your plan, by the way? I mean, everybody's got a different agenda and story, and I don't know that everybody's got it figured out yet because nobody knows the circumstance. But you're a diehard. You're one of the very faithful over the years. What are you going to do?
Well, this season, if it is the last year at the Coliseum, I know a lot of my buddies and stuff can't believe I'm doing this. I'm going to ride it out. I mean, there's young, talented players that I've seen play and I've announced over the Stadium PA in Stockton I want to see continue to play, like Zach Geloff, Nick Allen, guys like that. So I'm still going to go. I mean, I may be one of the 50 people there at the stadium, but I want to be there for the workers. I want to be there for all the people that still care about this as much as we can, even if we feel like we're getting a cheap end of the stick here, to say the least.
And so that's your plan for, 2024? And what if there's a 2025 in San Francisco and maybe in part in Sacramento? Will you do those trips? Will you drive over there? Will you drive up 80 to go to A's games still?
I might catch an occasional game here or there, possibly, but I haven't thought that far ahead yet. That's the really tough part. Not sure yet.
Oakland's your thing, huh?
Oakland is my thing. I mean, I either work down the street from the place. I mean, the Coliseum, it works out spectacularly, or
right.
I mean, I drive from Dublin here, or even take part. I mean, I really don't want to go to games in San Francisco. That would just feel really dirty. And also, the fact the A's gave the land to the Giants to stay in San Jose, their territorial rights, and then they didn't help us out in the vote, and then they're going to let the A's play in the stadium possibly. That's just stings in every aspect possible.
So, I mean, what do you think it's going to be like if there is some ultimate conclusion? Like if there is a last game in Oakland or in Sacramento or wherever? I mean, are you trying to not figure out how you're going to feel? Do you already know how you're going to feel, or how do you see that side of it?
I'm not trying to play it ahead too far, but I already know if 24 is the last game at the Coliseum, that last day, I know it's a day game, a Thursday day game, which is kind of sad. That's the way it's going to be. But I just know I hope the ushers don't try to kick me out right away, because I'll probably be sitting there reflecting on everything. And I have no problem admitting I'm almost 40 years old, but I'll probably be sobbing in my seat. It's gonna be really tough. It's just all the memories of that day, I think, are gonna be really tough. Everything's gonna just keep flowing, and the memory bank will just keep going. It's gonna be tricky, man. I'm not excited for that day. I'm excited for the season to get going because I love baseball.
Yeah.
But I'm just very very worried it's gonna be very difficult, to say the least.
You can be honest with me here because everybody saw me in tears. I guess that was mid-June, and probably a couple different occasions over time and over the years for different things, but obviously this A's situation from the past season. Has this ever broke you down emotionally yet?
Oh, it's got me a few times. When the basically when Vegas was announced, I was driving home from Banner Island Ballpark in Stockton. I saw one of my friend's moods completely change there in that game. He just told me to stay off social media, so I did.
Yeah. Then
my phone started blowing up on the car ride home. It was a wide range of emotions, from screaming, yelling, maybe punching the steering wheel a bit, to then just kind of pulling off the side of the road and breaking down a bit. It's not easy having this happen to something you love so dang much.
You know what else is amazing to me is that if all of this was so well laid out, and the T's were crossed and the I's were dotted, and it was a place that already had a bunch of sports, and it all was for decades, and there was something well established, and you lost it to that, right? You'd say, well, I guess this is business, and I guess this is just what happens, and it's still not fun or fair, and it doesn't sit well. But when it's all going this direction of untested and unproven and some numbers and projections and ideas that make you go, huh? I think that's the hardest part of all of this, is that it's not conventional by any means. I guess relocation is never conventional, but I feel like even the Expos going to Washington, D.C., there's something just a little bit more concrete there about what a baseball team could look like and how it could be supported in the stadium that they built, all that stuff. It just seems like that was more understandable, even for Expos fans in Montreal who I know are still not over it. But at least you were losing it to something that made 100% sense. Las Vegas makes a certain amount of sense, but under these circumstances, I don't know what percentage that is.
No, I wholeheartedly agree with you. The only reason why, it's still so dang frustrating is, where's the stadium plan? Like, the stadium might even move. Hey, the way John Fisher and stuff has been as an owner, this might not even get done. It may still be another saga for another decade or two. You never know. It's just, I couldn't believe the owners voted 100% yes on it when nothing's in place. Again, no renderings, unless they ever showed something that we weren't haven't had the privy to see yet. I hate the fact too. It's another team. Don't get me wrong. I was never a Raiders fan. I'm a Niner guy.
Yeah.
But still, I feel for all my friends that had that happen with the Raiders twice.
Yeah.
And then we have the A's leaving. It's just, a lot of them are telling me this is what it feels like. I'm like, I don't want to do this ever again. I've had minor league hockey teams fold mid-season. R.I.P. San Francisco Bulls. I didn't like that, but. But I wasn't so attached to that.
They fixed the Cow Palace up so well for just what 2 seasons? Was it 2 years? One and a half? 1.5.
Yeah. 1.5.
Yeah, right.
So last home game was on January 15th of 2014. Why I still remember that exact date, I don't know. I need a lot of help. I can't remember anything important that my friends and stuff tell me, but I can remember the most random sports stuff you will never need in your life.
Their head coach was named what? Who, I should say?
I know. Pat Curcio.
I was doing Bulls trivia on you right there. All right,
and they had a few, and then Ryan Clough was one of their assistant coaches.
I did a whole thing on that. We had a wireless mic on Ryan Clough for one of the couple games that he was a coach on the bench, and we beeped out a lot. Not gonna lie, he was swearing like a sailor out there, just like you'd expect. Hey, I got one more thing, and then I'll take some more calls here. And I think you got a really good vibe on this. Hypothetically, if there was some Christmas miracle here, or right around the corner, so to speak, and somehow, some way, the A's decided, well, we're going to put this thing off, and it's just whatever. I don't even want to hypothesize here because it would take so many things, and it seems far-fetched. But if there was something like that, or if baseball turned around and said, okay, maybe we will do expansion in Oakland. Like, how do you think the appetite is right now for baseball or for the A's to stay, just based on the journey that everybody's been through? What do you sense the appetite being like in the fan base?
If also Major League Baseball said, you know what, you guys are keeping your team, or very least you get an expansion team in a few years and you're keeping the colors.
Right.
I have a feeling as soon as that goes down, season ticket numbers will shoot way up. I think people really will be like, okay, we know what we've gone through. We know this could possibly be a thing. We need to make sure we support this franchise and do everything we can to keep it. So I know people. People are really excited about the Oakland Ballers. I have a feeling that baseball is hungry here. So I have a strong feeling things will go very well.
Well, I'm always thirsty for some right field will since you mentioned hungry. So thanks for the call, buddy.
and one thing real quick, buddy. Your favorite Sharks goalie of all time.
Artur Serbe.
I will say mine is okay, perfect. Same here. Like Wall, baby.
Yeah.
Right on, Brody. Have a spectacular evening.
He was my gateway goalie drug to the NHL. I'm like, who is this guy and how does he stop everything? And obviously the 93 Sharks, new building, beat the Red Wings, playoffs for the first time. Yeah, it was that season where I got hooked. All right, Will.
Plain white pads, man.
You are awesome that you were the first caller, and I appreciate you for doing that. Thank you so much, buddy.
You got it, buddy. Have a great night.
All right, you too. All right, right field Will checking in. I had some issues there with the whole caller ID thing, and I forget now how to turn that off. So when somebody's in a call, know that I won't be able to take your call, and it might go straight to voicemail. But I am ready for another caller. If somebody's feeling like getting in, we can definitely do that now. Oh, look at that. From the 408. From the 408, who's this?
Hey, Brody. Matthew, how you doing, dude?
Hey, Matthew. I'm good, man. How are you?
I'm doing pretty well. I just turned off the Sharks game.
Oh, well, let me see. How much more time is there? 3 minutes left. You're a good soldier to make it that long. Being down by 3 with 3 minutes left, that's a hard comeback to make.
Well, I did it against Vegas. So.
Yeah. It wasn't the final 3 minutes, though, and there was a 5-minute major. Oh, you're talking about the recent Vegas game.
Yeah, the recent one.
Yeah. Yeah, they were down by 2, I think, with about 10 minutes left to play. But that was awesome. That was one of the rare times I've covered the Sharks where we did the postgame and it felt like a win, even though it was a shootout loss. But nonetheless. What's on your mind, man?
Yeah, I mean, to the start of the season, it wasn't that great. But like I said, I like our goalie tandem, and I honestly like what Greer's doing, to be honest.
Yeah. It's going to take some time. I think, all you can ask for as a Sharks fan at this point is to see the trajectory, right? Like, that this isn't going to get remedied overnight. The pipeline needs to be rebuilt. The NHL team needs to be rebuilt. You might go through a couple rounds of players and coaching staff personnel, and it's unfortunate that it takes some of that shuffling through to get to where you ultimately want to be. But there's models of this in the NHL. Like look at the LA Kings. They went through some pretty dark times. Ducks kind of the same way.
Exactly.
They're on the rebound too. So we've seen examples of it,
Yeah. I mean, hopefully the Sharks can get Macklin Pellegrini or another good player.
Yeah. And
the future roster.
I hate the idea of saying, well, I hope they have a bad season so they get a number 1 draft pick. I mean, you're banking on what? Like being really bad and being worse than everybody else and having among the best odds to pick first. You're also hoping that those ping pong balls bounce your way so that you can get the number 1 overall pick. I just think it's and even last year with Bedard, right? Who is amazing, no question. I think that's a bad strategy to say that's our play, is to go ahead and try and get the number 1 pick. Now, if you're saying we're going to be bad and we're going to get some really good picks, okay, that's part of a recovery process. But to aim at Celebrini, look, I want him too, and especially last year after Chicago got the first pick, like Sharks are due, So
yeah, I mean, even if they don't get Celebrini, I mean, I'll still be happy with any younger player. I mean, their prospects are really good, like Beestead, Smith, Pavlid, all those guys. I mean, they're doing pretty well.
Yeah, they are starting to fill up the pipeline a lot more, and the players that you see in the AHL or at other lower levels, I mean, it's starting to become more obvious, the pieces that they will have, and it's hard, right? Like in the NBA, for example, you draft some really good players, they're on your team that year, like that next year, or in the NFL. I mean, and granted, football has a huge roster, but you can get your franchise quarterback literally in the draft that year, and they're on your team the next season. Versus hockey and baseball is another sport where, gosh, they draft the players so young, and it's a 3 to 4 year process until they're actually benefiting your team. So, big runway.
Yeah. I mean, look at Mahomes. It's crazy. I mean, he got picked. I forgot what year he got picked, but now he's already playing and he's already won a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah. I mean, it can change your franchise overnight in other sports. And I think it's hard with hockey, right? You not only have the salary cap as one constraint of keeping teams more competitive and not really giving anybody an edge, but you also have, like I said, that delay, that inevitable delay of the draft versus, young talented players. Is there anything else? I want to try and rip through some more callers, but I want to give you one last crack.
Yeah, I mean, one last question before I'll let you go. Are you going to do any more Sharks games at the Tank this season?
Yeah, you mean for NBC?
Yeah.
I think there are a few.
When you're in the tent?
Yeah, I think there are a few, to be honest. It's totally not up to me. If it was, we'd be there every night. I mean, I love that scene and that scenario, but for a lot of programming and business reasons, they select a certain amount of games, and it seems like the last couple years it's tailed off a little bit, but I don't know when the next one is. There are only a few more, though, so we will definitely be out there just few and far in between, unfortunately. So.
All right. Thanks for letting me be on your
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And great talking to you. I'll catch you later on Sharks pregame, postgame live.
Thanks, Matthew. I appreciate that. And sorry I was a little brief. Just trying to get through as many calls as I can here. And you obviously heard people are trying to get in while I'm on a call. I gotta fix that. I'll be better. Hello from the 510. Who's this?
Hi, this is Art.
Art, what's going on?
Hey, Brody, how you doing tonight?
I'm hanging in there. I decided to do a little live stream here before the holidays. Figured Tuesday night might work. Oh, sorry, the Sharks just scored. I got a little distracted. It's 4-1, but at least they're not getting shut out. What's on your mind, Art?
So I just wanted to take a quick sort of thank you, for documenting this process. It's been really hard, as an A's fan, to face this reality. I think for myself, it's really difficult because I have young kids. They're all under 8, and they're not going to get to experience the full A's experience, if you will, that I had. And one day when they're older, they'll be able to show them sort of your videos, and so they can see the process. I think it's really hard to process. I mean, it's surreal, but I think this is a reality now, and I think as Oakland A's fans, let's support the ballers and let's show, the world and baseball that, hey, we can support the ballers, we can support the roots, and, let's just keep it going. I think it's going to be hard, but what we as Bay Area fans, we may be sort of shunned away, but we support the next thing, and you can move the team, but that spirit, that fighting spirit, the energy, all those things that we do is exclusive to us, and they can't replicate that anywhere else.
Art, that's really well thought out, and I like the way you said it there. And I've realized, what has made the A's experience. It's not just the Coliseum and the team's colors and the success they've had over the years and the favorite players and managers we've all liked. It's kind of like it's the people. It's the people sitting in the stands that are the community, that they're the ones that haven't changed over the years. Kind of like the Coliseum. They've been the constant of
That's right.
the A's experience. Let me ask you this. What got you into being an A's fan?
Well, I grew up in East Oakland, right off of High Street. So, I remember I was born in 1978, and I remember when I was sort of conscious enough to understand that there was a Coliseum nearby, because I grew up near Foothill. So if you know where the Hells Angels headquarters are, that's by Fremont High School. I grew up around there.
Okay.
And I remember, like in mid-'80s, I could see the light, and I didn't know that was baseball.
Yeah.
Right. And then years later, you could see the fireworks, and then that just sort of led from one thing to another. Then eventually, I was part of the Babe Ruth baseball team, and the A's used to have clinics at Greenman Field. I don't know if you remember that, but they used to have baseball clinics at Greenman Field, which is in deep East Oakland, and I was part of that. And that just, so I was lucky to see like the 87, 88, 89 A's,
right.
Jacob McGuire, Ricky, right? And that's sort of what started for me. And it wasn't just baseball. It was just, I think it came also from my cousins and my brother who are Raider fans, and even they were Oakland Invader fans, right? And even Oakland Seals and all that. And I think I learned that Oakland, it was a state of mind kind of thing, right? Like, not only do we support the team, but we're a community, just like you said. And I think it just grew more and more. And we did that same thing with the Warriors and the Raiders. And I think that's why it sort of hurt, because I think we as a community built up these teams, right? Like, the Raiders were made in Oakland. The A's were made in Oakland. Sort of same thing with the Warriors, with the crowd, right? Everybody always thinks about Oakland. And it seems like as soon as we get that momentum, it gets taken away, right? I mean, it's just, that's sort of what got my love to that. And I think that's what I meant earlier, that my kids are not going to get to see that. I think that's the more heartbreaking thing.
You and I see eye to eye on all this. So when I ask you this next question, it's not to contradict what you're saying. Some people will say, yeah, but, the A's came from Philadelphia, And then they came from Kansas City 2 stops before they even got to Oakland. So they've kind of always been on the move. But
right.
So I think what you were saying earlier, I mean, they've been around here 55 years. We're talking about multiple generations of A's fandom. And it's been passed down maybe even 3 times if it was somebody old enough to their child to now their grandchild. And you know my point. Like, they've been around long enough to be established. In fact, the A's have spent more years in Oakland than even Philadelphia, where they were for 50-something years, you know? So
yeah, and I think, when you think about the green and gold, it's going to be Oakland that's synonymous with
yes.
And to your point, I think that's what it comes down to. And I think for us, for my community or my culture, it has a deeper meaning too, you know, because I'm first generation Mexican American, and I think the A's also have a cultural connection too, you know, because sort of like, you know, my dad came to Oakland in the 70s, and, you know, you hear a lot of those stories, like, you know, first generation kid who dad fell in love with the Raiders or the Warriors, you know. So that's what we're losing, you know. But I'm kind of course I'm discouraged, but I'm happy that the ballers are coming. I think we're going to really show out and really show the world, like, hey, this, like I said, this Oakland state of mind is here. You can't replicate that anywhere else. And again, thank you for everything you do, and seeing you sort of break down. I felt that too, because I think a lot of us feel that, and I think you've been able to really capture how we feel, you know, and I thank you for your work on that.
Well, that's very kind of you to say, and you know, I'm inspired by people like yourself and your stories, and that's why I'm here asking you questions, because I'm curious about it, you know. And no 2 stories are alike, which is cool, but they all kind of have similar themes and trends, and a lot of people saying a lot of the same things for similar reasons, like yourself, and sharing stories that are very similar across all the years. Thank you so much for the call. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for the platform, Brody, and have a good night.
Absolutely. You too. Be safe out there. All right.
Thank you too. Bye-bye.
All right. A lot of great calls tonight. What I've figured out here is that there is a do not disturb button while I'm on a call. So I'll do that. And that way the call waiting beep doesn't keep happening. But you can call in right now. Look at that. I love the fact that here on the stream, it takes like 2 seconds for the next call. Oh, hang on a second. From the 415. Who's this?
Hey, how's it going, Brody? This is Mike from San Francisco, actually. Yeah.
Mike, what's happening, buddy?
Good. Yeah, I appreciate all of the calls and hearing everyone, and, you know, kind of going through the morning phase of the A's and everything. And, so basically I was calling just because I have 2 rooms of thought that have kind of come to me as a diehard A's fan. I was wondering if I can share them with you and the audience, you know.
Yeah, go ahead.
Kind of what sticks, you know, per se. Hey, just keep in mind, I am a massive A's fan when I say this. So I'm a huge Sacramento Kings fan, and I still remember back then when we almost moved to Seattle and were renamed the Supersonics.
Right.
And I remember one big thing that you know, I remember that us King fans had done that unfortunately the A's fans haven't done. And keep in mind, there's a lot of similarity with happening, because we had a horrible ownership. We had the Maloofs that were, I'm sure you remember them. They were, you know, horrible owners at the end, and they were trying to push out the King fans, you know. But I still remember that we still sold out every game, and we came through every game with, you know, packed houses, you know, every single night. I still remember that David Stern had said that because of the fan support, that was a reason why,
right,
you know, he put his neck on to keep the Kings there. So I kind of feel like, as much as I despise John Fisher with every fiber in my body, I still kind of have a feeling of, you know, if we had just came through that, you know, a lot more than what we had done, that maybe it would have been, you know, maybe Manfred would have sang the David Stern tune. You know, I was just thinking about that today, that, you know, it might have been a different story if we packed the house the way that the Kings did. And
it's an interesting thought.
I don't know if that's true or not, but
yeah.
I was curious what your thoughts were on that.
It's an interesting hypothesis. I think your first point was probably the best part about it. There's similar situations with a lot of very different details. And I don't know intimately like what the Kings were doing and spending on their teams over all those years, but I mean, even think about in the early 2000s, the heyday, right? Chris Webber and company and Peja and all that and Vlade. Yep. So, I think it was different in that team like wasn't flipped overnight. In Oakland, I think one of the hard things for fans was that just when they started getting attached to something, it all went away. And it all went away like literally in one winter and one off season. And then they start from scratch again. And so I think the depletion of fans was a little bit more obvious and telegraphed in this situation. I understand what you're saying in that, the perspective and the outside image of all this. And it's easy for outside fans to criticize and say, well, look at A's attendance over the last couple of years. Yeah, well, I mean, it's the chicken and the egg thing, right? Like which came first, the chicken or the egg? And what's the real root reasoning behind that? But I agree with you, and I think, the Kings situation was far different. I mean, look, it was the NBA's Board of Governors and then owners, which all voted down relocation to Seattle. And that's a city that they wanted to go back to. They already had a team there that had worked, and they regretted taking the Sonics away. And that was after opportunities in, I don't know if you remember this, Virginia Beach and Anaheim.
I remember it very well.
Yeah.
And Las Vegas.
Yeah.
For a spell.
Yeah. So
and then they were very quick to go to Anaheim.
Right. Yeah. Which is LA, which would have been a third team in LA, but they already had an arena. They already had Honda Center, like it was, turnkey and ready to go. So in a lot of weird ways, like that Kings situation, like they had a sale to Sacramento done. And I don't know, you're in San Francisco. I don't know if you recall, like the San Francisco Giants had a sale to an ownership group in Tampa Bay done.
Oh, yeah.
But in those instances, baseball voted against the Giants move. The NBA owners voted against the Kings move. Obviously, it was a 30-0 unanimous vote to allow the A's to move. Right? And I think that's among the different parts of the situation is, David Stern, rest in peace, by the way.
Right.
Different person, different operation than the way that maybe Rob Manfred is running Major League Baseball right now. So to your point, even if we were looking at packed Coliseum crowds over the last handful of years, but again, it would have had to have, like Matt Chapman, Matt Olson, Marcus Semien, they would still kind of have to be on the A's maybe. But what would that alternate reality look like? I think you bring an interesting point. It can't be evaluated because it didn't play out that way,
Exactly.
That's good stuff. I thought about those two a lot, but I never really thought about that parallel, So
yeah, and then if you don't mind, another on a similar, like on the same topic, I remember that I was hearing a lot from Casey about how there's a bunch of ownership groups who want to buy the A's, and they're all lining up, and the whole nine. I mean, I'm just putting it this way: if I had all that money, and if I want to buy the A's, I mean, I would have been so public with it. I would have not have hidden in the shadows here. I mean, I'm just surprised that someone, wasn't more there to show that there's someone who wants to keep him. And so that's why I don't understand either. I've been just shocked that because I do believe that there were people. I just don't understand why they didn't come out more, out like in the shadows and make themselves known to put more pressure on baseball to keep him here.
I'll tell you why.
But that was another thought we thought out. Yeah,
I think it's because the same reason why, if you're at a restaurant, you don't want to be too picky about the food. This is gross.
Right,
They'll spit in your food, right? No, in a sense of if you're somebody who eventually does want to own, if you do want to own a Major League Baseball team someday, whether it's a current team or an expansion team, and you have the money and the ways and means to do that, I think you have to go into this so carefully where you don't step on anybody's toes. And
that's a very valid point.
John Fisher flat out said, not for sale, not for sale, not for sale. And if you're the one that's persistent, it's almost like pursuing a partner, somebody you're interested in, right? And if you're too persistent about it, they're going to be like, please leave me alone. Like you're way too pushy. So I think that's the real reason, is that anybody that was a prospective, baseball owner, and again, they have the resources to do it, but they really have to play chess and not checkers when it comes to how they appear interested, how they don't get taken advantage of in a purchase situation or an expansion situation. and how baseball doesn't look at them and say, we're not even dealing with you anymore. Stop it. Go away. You're too annoying. You kind of have to play by their rules a little bit.
Right. And what I was actually, I was thinking about this a while back was I remember when the Dodgers and the McCourts had their issue, how there was a horrible financial situation, and though I don't remember the whole story about how they were getting the big time divorce, and Major League Baseball forced them to sell the team.
Yeah.
So I'm just surprised that Major League Baseball would see how the A's have conducted themselves and not made them sell. And I don't think, I'm surprised that didn't happen in this situation either, because, think about it, right? Las Vegas would do much better having their own team than another team from Oakland. This just makes no. It just makes no sense to me at all. And those two are very, Anyways, so that was my.
Well, it's also no, and I'll close with this. It's a theme of other teams in similar situations too, right? Like you've got the Brewers that wanted some public money to fix up their stadium. You've got the Royals who are looking for a new stadium. Tampa's looking for a new stadium. So if the A's went out, and they went out and did the legwork to get public money approved, $380 million in Nevada. So you kind of want to set a tone and a precedent. Like, well, if you. And this is from the owners. I'm not saying this is baseball fans or even the commissioner, but baseball owners say, well, we want to make sure that gets rewarded. And that's why them getting the public money was such a big deal, because now all the other teams say, well, that's all really the evidence we need, is that if the A's ownership has the money and they're getting public money, that's a good precedent for all the other teams. And it goes to show other communities across the country, this is what it looks like of how we move to you or how we stay with you. So there you go.
Yeah, I just think it's a joke how the Dodgers were able to, have
defer all the money
life with a new owner.
Oh yeah,
and then because Oakland is a whatever you want to fill in the blank, we don't care and just move. I think it's very hypocritical, at least in my opinion.
Yeah. Well,
opinion.
Times change, opinions. When I mean like the
because you and I both know that if the Dodgers were owned by John Fisher, okay, he'd be out in one day. I think that's safe to say. They would not allow that guy to own a big, team like that or the Red Sox or Yankees. Not a chance could he get away with that in those markets.
Well, and you're right. The market. You're right. The market part of the importance of baseball markets. That might be. This is Oakland to Las Vegas, so maybe in the bigger scheme they look at this and say, well, something to something else. It's not one of our marquee cities: Boston, New York, L.A., Chicago, maybe even Dallas or Houston. Or quite honestly, even Miami. But then there's another interesting one, right? Like Miami is a huge media market. It's a huge just population market in our country.
Right.
And yet the Marlins are floundering, if you will. I don't have the sound effects here.
Yeah.
All right. I'm going to take some more calls, but
Brody, thank you, brother. Appreciate you for the call, man. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you
brother.
for calling in. That is awesome that you did. Have a good night.
Thanks.
All right. We will move on here. Let me turn Do Not Disturb off. I got to remember to do that so that more calls can actually come in. Phone number's on your screen. I'll tell you what, let's do another call or two, and then maybe we'll get into some more of the Q&A on the live chat here. All right, let's take this one from the 210. Where's the 210?
Hello?
How's it going? Who's this?
Hey, Brody, this is an honor, man. My name's Mac. I'm living in Texas. Originally from New York.
Okay.
And so a couple of things real quick.
Yeah.
I'm a 62-year-old man. So I just missed the Dodgers and the Giants in New York. But one of the things I wanted to ask you, especially as someone who wanted to be a broadcast journalist, I'm wondering if you could discuss the parallels between what went on with the Brooklyn Dodgers trying to stay and ultimately having to leave for California versus what's going on with the A's right now.
I have unfortunate news for you on that. I know about the Dodgers situation from Brooklyn to LA, but I don't know intimately. And so I don't really have, and you know what's crazy? You mentioned that. I was just in Nashville a couple weeks ago. Matt Vasgersian of MLB Network, he specifically recommended a documentary to me to watch because he said that when they were talking about how the Dodgers left Brooklyn for LA, he goes, this is almost like textbook to what's happening in Oakland right now. He said literally you could just interchange the words. So I'm sorry that I don't have the historical perspective. Like I know what happened, but I don't have all the details to maybe make the comparison that you were hoping for. Did you have a comparison?
No, that's okay. What I will tell you, you probably are familiar with the name Robert Moses.
Yeah.
Well, he was primarily responsible, at least in my view, from everything I've read and heard, he was primarily responsible. And he actually was, if you could imagine this, Brody, he was the head of about 11 or 12 different commissions in New York, all at the same time.
Huh.
And so when he wanted something built, like a highway or something, it was done. And he had this love for highways or what have you. So that's in part why Dodgers had to leave, because he wanted to push them to where the Mets play now, the Flushing Meadows site.
Okay.
And he wanted to be where the Nets play now.
Okay.
In Flatbush in Brooklyn. So that's just a little bit of the history.
I appreciate that. Is there anything? I was going to say, is there something else you wanted to get to too?
Well, I guess like everyone else, is there any remote possibility that this thing will fall through? I personally think the A's should stay in Oakland myself, and I have no dog in this fight, but I always thought they should stay in Oakland.
Yeah, it's crazy because we sit here and talk right now, and there's public money approved, and baseball has approved, but there's no actual binding deal that I know of. And what's crazy is everybody said that the whole rush behind this was so that the A's could stay on revenue sharing. They have until January 14th of 2024, I believe, to have this binding agreement per the CBA that keeps them on revenue sharing. But I don't know that they have a binding agreement right now. They have an approval by baseball to go, and they have public funding spelled out with SB1 in the legislative session. But there's a few important things that are still missing, and I don't know. And there was even talk recently about the partner that they have for the Tropicana site, Bally's and GLPI, one who's going to run the hotel, the new hotel there, and one who owns the land. And if Bally's Corporation is in trouble, maybe the deal is also in trouble. I mean, the A's are not buying this land. They're not in control of it. They're kind of getting in. It's almost like if I were staying at your house, I don't really have control if you sell your house all of a sudden before I get down to Texas, like it's not in their control. So, and I'm saying that because I've heard that Bally's as a company is not in the best shape that they've ever been in. And I know that they've been working on a casino project in Chicago that is totally a bust. But anyway, long story short, it shouldn't, like, this stuff you would think should all be squared away and should be at a point where there is no coming back from it. But it's almost like the door is just left open on purpose just a little bit to make you wonder, will it be shut eventually? Will it be ultimately closed? And there's a lot of people out there on social media and my YouTube channel who comment and say, done deal, been a done deal for a long time. It may end up that way, but it's still, like, months later, it still has not become an official door shut, everything's figured out type situation.
I'm suspicious because we still haven't seen, unless you know something that I haven't heard yet, we still haven't seen any renderings.
I just did a video on that earlier today, crazy enough. And you're right. They were supposed to come out. I do believe they exist. I do believe renderings exist. I also believe that there was some important reason why they weren't instantly put out. And I know that there was the tragedy with the two highway patrol officers in Nevada who were killed in the hit and run on the same day that the A's announced, like, they were in that tragedy and that accident at like 3:30 on Thursday, that Thursday morning. The A's that same morning put out the release. Maybe they didn't know, they weren't aware of it. But then the next day, Friday, they said, you know what, we're canceling this in light of the tragedy. And that's fine. But there's been
Is it
opportunity.
possible that they weren't even going to, not to cut you off, but is it possible that they really were looking for any excuse to put it off? Is there something that would make?
I don't want to speak.
say,
Yeah,
wait a minute, no.
I know you're not the only one to say that or suggest that. I don't want to put that. Though I won't say those words, but I will say, okay, the tragedy happened, and there have been a bunch of other events since then. So now what's the delay, right? And maybe tomorrow, maybe they come out and say, well, here they are. I mean, this could all be such a non-issue so quickly. But to my point earlier, why is it still an issue then? Make it a non-issue, So
yeah. All right. Well, listen, Brody, I appreciate the time.
Yeah.
I wish there was a way I could email you because I actually, I want to ask you something, but I don't want to ask it over the air.
Okay.
But do you have? Is there someplace where I can?
Yeah, it's here on
find the email?
it's here on my channel. If you go to the community tab in the About section, it's in there. You can find it. It's there.
Oh, okay.
And I'll be looking out for that.
Yeah. Okay. I thank you again for your time. Be blessed.
Yeah, be well. Be well, and happy holidays too. Thank you so much for the call.
Thank you. You too.
All right. All right. Good calls tonight. People that are up to speed on things, interested, invested, all the above. So I always appreciate it. The phone lines are open. I know there's like a 10-second delay of when I say that. It's like it's inevitable, isn't it? Good evening from the 541. Who's this?
The 541, Eugene, Oregon.
All right. You guys drink a lot of good beer up there.
Mighty Ducks. Mighty Bo Nix and his Mighty Ducks. Who's this, you might ask?
Yes, who is this?
Oh, it's just your favorite commentator of all time. I precede you in this. I used to write about this for Athletics Nation when it was the most viewed sports blog in the world on the internet. This is Emperor Nobody, Brody Brazil.
How's it going?
And it's going. It's gone with the wind, like the credibility of Major League Baseball and professional sports in general.
You're coming in hot.
Well, raw stuff, all right. It's the only way I know to come in like the mighty Peter Tosh. Coming in hot, man. All I have to say is that there don't have to be renderings. There don't have to be accountability. Because as I've said many times in your threads, the broader issue in all of this is that there's no laws for rich people that mean anything in this country. And that's what's driving this whole bag. The whole shebang of this is, where's the line? Where is the line where municipalities that have carried the name of this franchises for, in some cases, decades, in some cases it precedes when you and I were even born on the earth. Where is the line where municipalities is essentially engage in voluntary serfdom to billionaire sports owners who want to gaffle all the public money they can to fill their own pockets? Where's the line?
It's a tough situation. I was thinking about this the other day, and I know you're into baseball, so am I. We're into other sports too, but it's an all sports problem, and it's like an all region problem of our country. And I'll say this on multiple fronts. Number one, there's the political side of it. And some people politically are like, yeah, give sports teams money. It'll pay us back and whatever. Other people say, are you kidding? We need it for schools, hospitals, improving the roads and conditions in our community. There's a lot of obvious thoughts on that. But there's also, like, some communities have an excess of like, well, we've got a surplus $200 million and we don't know what to do with it. Other communities are in debt $200 million, so they have no chance. That being established, those situations are all across the country, and there is to your point, there's no standard of what communities are or are not willing to do. Depending on what part of the country you're in, like obviously West Coast here in California, public money for sports venues is starting to become a thing of the past. There's other parts of the country where it's going to keep happening for several decades, and that's going to cause some teams to flat out threaten to move. And this is going to be, the A's are kind of at the beginning of this, but there's a lot of Major League Baseball teams right now, including the Royals, including even the Angels. And I don't think they're going to go very far out of Southern California, but they're like threatening maybe to leave Anaheim and go to Long Beach. The Chicago White Sox recently said, what if we don't get public money? We might be out of here too. How about the Rays? So I could go on and on.
Oklahoma City just voted to keep a team that they barely have had for a few decades.
There you go, right? In the NBA you're talking about with the Thunder, right?
Well, as the saying goes up here in the PNW, bring back the Supersonics, right?
Well, that was a mistake in the first place, and I think the NBA has realized that. It's almost like for them, you know what's crazy? The Kraken have already fixed up what I still call Key Arena, which is, I know, Climate Pledge Arena. So, that's so ready to go. That's so ready to go for the NBA. I'm pretty sure they'll expand there. They won't have to move a team there. But here we go again, into the conversations of public money. It's going to lure teams. It's already a divisive issue among sports fans. But it's a divisive issue across our country. You're right. It really is a problem.
I don't mean to be the Debbie Downer or to bring. I was always famous for this when I wrote about this stuff. People would come up to me in the parking lot of the Coliseum and tell me I ruined their life because I brought business, the aspects of capitalism and the realities of it into my, opinions and expressed opinions about all of the sports stuff. And they go to the sports stuff to be insulated from the evil, ugly, cruel, real world around them. So all I can say is that this is so fueled by so many extracurricular ideas and opinions and vibrations that this ownership has expressed. I've been very vocal for since I've been doing this, since 2006, about the euphemisms that these people have used and the way they've stroked the broader opinions in the outer culture and the broader culture beyond the Bay Area about Oakland and the role of Oakland in the last 60 years of U.S. history, what have you, that they've stroked a lot of ugly buttons, and it speaks to a lot of larger issues about Major League Baseball, about what goes on in the Coliseum, how the Coliseum atmosphere for an athletics game is so markedly and kind of egregiously different and just different from top to bottom from any other fan experience or anything you would see on a televised game from anywhere else. I don't think Major League Baseball wants the drummers. I don't think Major League Baseball wants people that aren't, that don't have platinum credit cards. Let's put it that way.
It's
and when they used to say we can't survive here because Oakland is a small market. I don't mean to be the guy that has to say this, but I've been saying it consistently for 20 years. Small market's a euphemism, my friend. A euphemism for something really dark, really ugly, and really disgusting. And that's what these people are. And that's all I'll say.
Baseball would be definitely losing out, by leaving Oakland in a lot of ways. I'll just add that to what you said. It's more than just losing any old fan base. It's a certain fan base. It's a dedicated fan base. It's one that's proven itself over time. Hey, thank you so much for the call. Be well in the old PNW. Thanks for the call.
Thanks for doing what you do, Brody.
Yeah. You got it. All right, let's take off Do Not Disturb. One more call, then some Q&A in the live chat, and we'll call it a night. Hello from the 410. Who's this?
Hello?
I hear myself in the background. Hey, turn down your computer in the background. There you go.
This is Paul.
Hey, Paul, how's it going?
I'm doing great. I just saw you were live, so I definitely wanted to call it. I'm in Baltimore, but I've been watching this drama going on, and I feel you guys so much because if we're going to rank owners, we have the second worst owner in Major League Baseball for sure.
Yeah, I've paid a little attention to the Orioles saga as well too. I know things in Anaheim aren't great. There's a lot of hot spots in Major League Baseball with stadium and ownership issues and money things back and forth. So it's not. I know Oakland's not the only one. Is it really 1:30 in the morning where you're at?
Yes, it is.
Oh, well, I'll bring up the time. There we go. 10:35 here in California. So, what, 1:35 out east? Was there
when you're a photographer and you work crazy hours, you stay up late sometimes.
Yep, all night owl. You're preaching to the choir. Was there? I know you wanted to talk a little bit of Orioles and ownership stuff. What was on your mind tonight?
No, I just wanted to throw. I think what you're doing is a value to the community, and I want to just encourage you to continue doing it. And I am just really frustrated with our situation. We just signed our lease, and we have a stadium authority that actually controls the actual two stadiums, and I've been going to meetings for the last couple years, really advocating for being a good steward to the community, and it would drive me, it would kill me if what's going on in Oakland, because for a long time there, it really felt like the owner was going to move the team to Nashville, and he could still do it, because at the end of the day, what I've come to really believe is that this is a private smokers club, and they just happen to own a professional team that plays sports, and then we're just kind of like pawns in this whole thing. I don't know if you see it that way, if you get what I'm saying.
It's not pleasant when you face the reality of, something you've attached yourself to, and fans have invested a lot of money into, right? They're not just their heart and their passion, but like people who spend on season tickets every year, and continue to do so, and buy the jersey and all that stuff, and go on road trips with their team. It's almost like, when somebody who's not a sports fan gets it explained to them that their team is moving, they're like, wait, so they'll still exist, somewhere else? You can just watch them on TV, right? It's not the same. It's definitely not the same. And I know you know that, but it's weird that we know that, and we can all agree on that, but there's even some people who can't grasp that concept. It shouldn't come down to some of these things. It really shouldn't. So
it just clearly, when it comes to this private smokers club, unless you have a foot in the store, it doesn't matter, because you could literally put a team on Mars at this point, and I think they wouldn't care, as long as there's some kind of TV revenue or some kind of way to pay their revenue and make money.
Hey, when you hear me in a future video, call it what do you say, a private smokers club?
Yes, I think of it. Really,
you might want to trademark that.
Club that we have no. I please use it, because I can't think of another way to explain. It's a club that it's a club, and they're all the sports teams are this way. All the that we don't have any say on it, but they all go into this private room and close their doors, and then they come out and tell us, what we're going to do. It's the most hilarious thing. And then we all just yes, we bow down. We love you.
Well, even what's crazier about it is, with the relocation vote, at least I thought on that day, November 16th, we knew it was going to happen. Okay, at least there's going to be some answers that come out of this, right? Because to take a vote, you need to know some things like, how much is the stadium going to cost? What's it going to look like?
Right.
Where's the team going to play in the interim? All those questions.
What's the TV contract? What's the infrastructure?
Right.
How much money are you going to? Where are the players going to play for 4 years in 100-degree weather?
Right. They had none of those questions answered. I'm like, wait,
because they don't know. They don't know themselves.
Yeah.
They barely know what cigarette they're going to smoke, because those know the TV contract.
There goes the smokers club.
Here's the question, because you're the reporter and you're the investigator, and I would ask, is there any way to find out what the Players Association has any say in this? Because are they really going to allow the team to play? Could they revolt and just not show up? Are they really going to allow them to play in 100-degree weather on artificial turf? Is that really going to happen? Do you really think could there couldn't the players just not show up? That just blows my mind.
Are you referencing the A's playing the interim seasons at the minor league stadium in Las Vegas?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So
absolutely.
I'll tell you that I think, even though that was mentioned by the A's as an option, I actually think they really don't even want to pursue that option. And I'll say it because like this. If they go to Las Vegas, technically it's Summerlin, where the minor league ballpark is. If they go there, they're now in the market, hypothetically, in the year 2025. As of right now, here in 2024, they're going to have probably another 100 loss season, a lost team season this year, right? Like they're I mean, they were
of the owner.
Yeah,
and that's 100%.
They flipped the team a couple years ago, and ever since, I mean, you're getting the results that were kind of predictable. But my point is, even if they improve by 12 games this year, from last year to this upcoming year, they're still flirting with 100 losses. And now you're going to take that team in that group and go into your new market, and you're not really ready for prime time yet. My point is that I actually think as time goes on here, and I see this a little bit more clearly, I don't know that they really want to go into Las Vegas before they're actually ready, before a new stadium would be built, before they can really make that first impression. You don't get a second chance to make a first impression. And if they go down there before, like I said, they're full steam ahead, it's kind of setting themselves up for failure. And they know this about Las Vegas because look at the Golden Knights. First year of existence, they got that great expansion draft. They went all the way to the Stanley Cup final in year one. They obviously just won it last year in year 6 of existence. They've been to the playoffs every year since. Winning will help people attach to you when you're making that first impression. And if the A's go there in 2025, like, there's no way in the history of sports they can go from losing 112 last year to maybe even having a winning record by 2025. That's just not going to happen. That's not in the cards.
Well, it's in my opinion that they've already made a bad impression, because it's like going on a first date and showing up late or being drunk and then expecting to get a second date. So I
Are you speaking from experience right there? That was very specific.
I'm 41 and I've had enough life experience. So.
I'm only 1 year ahead of you. I'm only kidding, I
know
I agree.
We're kids, you know. You just happen to you have a son already and you have a wife. I'm a little behind on that. Cool. We're kismet here.
Take your time. You're fine. Take your time. No rush. Take your time. Well, hey, I appreciate the call. I'm going to get to a couple more people here in the live Q&A.
I hope you do, and I appreciate you very much. Please continue, and please don't. I know life's going to change for you, but I hope the best. And please, if you're left with just your YouTube channel, please just continue. You will survive. You'll be able to pay your bills. I wish you the best. Okay.
That is really nice of you to say. I really appreciate the sentiments. Have a good night in Baltimore, where it's almost 2 in the morning.
Bye-bye.
All right. Good night.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, that's that was a lot. That was heavy. That was a heavy ending. But great calls tonight. Gosh, I feel like one more. Well, you know what? I'm gonna actually turn off the phone calls for a second. I'm gonna get more into the live chat here. I do feel like I've been neglecting it. We did so many phone calls here, and I can't kind of go back and forth and do both. But I thought this comment was great. Irvine Cattle Ranch. Sitting on a cruise ship in the Pacific. Why the heck am I listening to this? Time for another drink. You know what? You bought yourself a drink. You dove in the super chat. I really appreciate that, Irvine Cattle Ranch. And I hope you're enjoying your Pacific Ocean cruise, wherever that's headed to. That's awesome. Cruising, there's nothing like it. There really isn't. But thank you so much for being in the live chat. And I know there was at least one other super chat here, which I may have missed. Let me scroll up to see. And we got to that one already. And we got to that one. Here's another one here. Sorry, and I will catch up on the live chat here. So if you're in it, I'll get to it. What are your thoughts about the state of MLB right now? It's an interesting time. Oops, I didn't mean to do that. It's an interesting time in that you're seeing a bunch of big contract commitments, and you're seeing some really top-tier spending teams, whether it's always been the Yankees and the Dodgers to some degree, but then the Mets get in on it, and then the Padres get in on it. I even saw that the Kansas City Royals in the last week alone committed to $100 million. I'm only a little bit worried, and I want players to get paid. Like, as a performer myself, I'm always in favor of people that do the hands-on work, like getting compensated whatever the market value is, whatever somebody's willing to pay them, great. And I hope that they can live up to those contracts. I'm only a little bit worried right now about the state of baseball and all these large dollar amounts being committed to by teams. And I don't know if the future of baseball, and all things considered, the money they make, I don't know if it's going to change anytime soon. I'm a little bit worried. I'm not saying they won't have the resources to pay their players, but they may be committing to so many big, heavy pieces right now that in 5 to 10 years, if the landscape of professional sports and media looks a lot different, what are these teams left to do? Now, the Dodgers situation with Ohtani, it's different, right? And two things. Number one about Ohtani, people think the money that's being deferred doesn't have to be put aside. It actually needs to be put aside right now. And that was something that I wasn't even aware of in the entire process until recently. So the Dodgers are already spending that money. They're just putting it in an account that Ohtani will eventually have access to, and they'll pay him out of that account. But I'm only a little worried about just the state of how much spending is going on and how that's actually going to play out over decades, really even less than a decade. What's the business of baseball and all sports going to be like in the next 10 years? Because they're still kind of operating on maybe the old school model of signing as many big name players as you can and being able to do that. And so what about the luxury tax? But when it's not coming in on the other side, and again, I already said the Dodgers are going to be fine. They have hundreds of, are they worth, the Guggenheim, are they worth $400 billion or something like that? Is some crazy amount? So they'll be fine, but not all teams that have to compete with that are necessarily going to be in that same situation. Chris wanting to know thoughts on the future of soccer in the Bay Area. How do I say this? It's interesting about the Earthquakes, who are obviously also owned by the same person that owns the Oakland A's. I have, MLS has not been the biggest draw in recent years, and I know like soccer can do well. There's so many people that play soccer around here. And look at the support even on a smaller scale that the Oakland Roots have had in a totally different sphere. So I'm wondering, what is the future of the Earthquakes? PayPal, is it Park now? I keep wanting to just call it Avaya. That's how it opened. I know PayPal is now the named sponsor. But on the future of it, I mean, it's great that our area has an MLS team. It's great that our area has multiple teams. It's great that our area now has Bay FC women's teams as well too, as well as the Soul in Oakland. But I don't know if we're ever going to be. And it's crazy. Like in Portland and Seattle, they go nuts for their MLS team. In Atlanta, they go nuts for their MLS team. It just hasn't been that way here in the Bay Area. I won't go much deeper into it than that, but I think the resources are there to make it happen. Even the facility, like in San Jose, is there to make it happen. I know they don't really spend a lot on their team or their roster, and now that Chris Wondolowski's gone, it changes kind of the face of the franchise, literally and figuratively. So I wish I had more thoughts on it, Chris. I'm an amateur soccer watcher in this region. It's one of the things I'm guilty of it. I would love to watch so much more. I'd love to watch so much more international soccer, but my time of life, baseball and hockey, keeps me so busy, and being a dad too, and some hobbies too. So wish I had more to throw into that pot. But thank you so much for being here on the Super Chat. Soccer, or Quest for Six, soccer puts me to sleep. You know what, though? If you know what you're watching for, it really shouldn't. And actually, if you're an Xbox player, where's my controller? Well, I guess it's in the other room. FIFA is still legit. I still love FIFA. Like 20 years later, I still love that game. I can always get excited about playing some FIFA. Oh, the Oakland Stompers. Kevin, now we're going back in the day. See, and I don't really want this narrative right here. Granted, we all of us who don't make pro athlete money, we're all going to say that. But it's market value. It's what they're able to get. It's just the business and the luck and the industry they're in. And like I said, as somebody who is a performer that works on a contract and has to get the next contract. I'm not hating the player or the game. That didn't come out right. I want them to get paid whatever they can. But again, I don't want it to become so out of balance that some teams are able to go crazy off the wall and other teams are now having to move their location because of it, things like that. That part is ridiculous. San Jose Sharks, well, this is not the team account, but no ball players are worth 500, 600, 700 million plus. Players want those contracts to be guaranteed. If that player loses an arm or a leg, the team is on the hook for the term of the deal with no way out. I'll say it like this, though. I mean, let's be very honest. Are the Dodgers guaranteed right now to win the World Series in 2024? If you tell me 100% yes, I'll tell you you're crazy. It's still going to take health, to your point. Some breaks their way, some career performances by starters and outfielders and infielders and catchers, and Dave Roberts making all the right in-game calls. And what else is in the division? Like, you still have the Diamondbacks, and the Giants are trying real hard, and oh yeah, the Padres spend a boatload of money too. Like, the Dodgers spending all that for Ohtani, it'd be one thing if it really truly guaranteed you your place, like at least in the World Series or in the NLCS. But I mean, mark this day, mark this conversation. What happens if the Dodgers don't get there? And maybe they don't get there in 25 either. I mean, you'd have to think their percentage and odds of getting to those spots and playing in a World Series and playing for a title, they just went up some significant amount. But unless we're in like the 95th to 100th percentile of assurance, you just spend a lot of money. And granted, Ohtani, great player. He'll be a great team member. Like, you're investing in the value of your franchise. No question about that. He's also very marketable. From a business standpoint alone, Ohtani's going to bring you some of that money back. It's just the way it is. But again, for teams to go out and spend that much, you want to be compensated well, but I think you also want to be able to actually live up to the contract value. All right. Watch an old football player try and walk. Ooh, they're not overpaid. Well, that's, and that's something to me, especially, we're just finding out the effects of lesser equipment and technology and health and medicine from the 80s and 90s and even 2000s. And look at athletes from those decades and eras that, to the point, are not doing well. And we're certainly not in the same conversation of compensation that athletes are right now. No question about that. Oh, I saw another super chat here. Oops, sorry. Kevin just saying Mitchell Page. A follow-up to the last question. Jim, thank you so much, by the way, for being in the super chat. Really does mean a lot. I should also explain that when we do the super chat here, it's all about upgrading this channel. Oh, by the way, I recorded a behind-the-scenes video of the home studio today, and I kind of explained how, what the super chats and all the funding for the channel, like stuff it went into and the improvements I've made here. So anyway, just want to say that I'm not making a living doing this, but I really appreciate everybody helping me build this channel and what I can do with it via the super chat. Do you think if each league spent less money, do you think it would be viable, maybe more viable in the future? I mean, obviously that's the way business works, right? Like, if you're set up for success down the road, I think you have to be mindful of changes in the future to professional sports and the money that has maybe always been there. What if it's all of a sudden not there? In revenue, specifically with media rights deals and how things are changing, it is definitely something for leagues and teams to think about. And I don't want to get too deep into the weeds here because this is literally where I work in this industry. But take a look across Major League Baseball and a lot of the respective regional sports networks that have had trouble, mostly all in the Diamond Sports Group and the Bally's Sports Group. staying afloat. Some of them have gone under. In fact, I don't think the Texas Rangers right now have a broadcast home. The World Series champions don't have a broadcast home for their upcoming season. And no broadcast home means no payment from a network to a team to air their games. That's a problem for the Texas Rangers. That's a lot of money that they were getting for so many years. Instantly gone like that. I think the Phoenix Suns are in a very similar situation down in the desert. They were a Bally's team, I believe, too. And when that kind of went away, or maybe they moved away from it, their games are all over the air on just typical broadcast television. And I'm sure they're streamed somewhere else. The Golden Knights in the NHL, they just offered a new streaming package called Nighttime, I think. But teams are having to do this on their own, and it certainly does not produce the same revenue as they've been used to. So it's an interesting, and this is across all sports, right? It's an interesting scenario for teams to be in. All right. Let's see what else we got here in the old live chat. Steph Curry deserves all his money, though. He was so clutch tonight. You know what? I didn't even see what happened in the Warriors game. Should I take a peek here? What am I going to find about old Steph? Let's see. Celtics at Warriors. The Warriors won 132-126. Steph Curry, at the start of the fourth quarter, 13 points, 5 fouls, Golden State with an 11-point deficit. Steph Curry at the end of OT, 33 points, still 5 fouls, and the Warriors win. Man, what a night for Steph. And you know what? I grew up a Warriors fan, no question about it. The Run TMC days. In fact, when Chris Mullin, was it 2 nights ago, was in our studio, I'm just like, I can't believe between he and guys like Dave Stewart, I'm like, my childhood is literally sitting right next to me here. But I grew up a Warriors person, no doubt. And I'm so happy for what they've been able to accomplish in all the last, decade plus. But I got to say, the Sacramento Kings are so intriguing to me. Their players, their story, the team's journey, Sacramento as a city, the fan base, how they kept the team. It almost moved away. It was almost ripped out of their hands. Not to make, I know this was a Steph Curry comment, but not to flip the script there, but I just want to say I'm in a very weird spot. I really am in NBA fandom. Like I'm trying to light that beam. I definitely am. I'm so old, I remember when the Warriors sucked. Yeah, me too. Me too. I remember when all the draft picks were really, really bad year after year. No disrespect to Todd Fuller, but I mean, the Warriors passed on Kobe Bryant. In fairness, 7 other teams did too, but come on. Had Chris Webber for a flash in the pan moment, that was it. Actually, didn't they draft Penny Hardaway? They drafted Anthony Hardaway and then traded him to Orlando for Chris Webber. They did the whoosh, right? But anyway, the point is, there's so many people, and no disrespect to younger people, but they don't know what it was like when the Warriors were really bad. In fact, and the Kings were really good in the early 2000s, or even certain parts of the 90s too. Come to the Beam team. No lie. In getting to Sacramento from the Bay Area, it's a hike, right? For example, I would be driving home right now, maybe after a game. It'd be late, but I really want to get up to a Kings game this year. Anybody in the Kings watching? Can you when I say call my people, just me, maybe? Can we hook that up? Run TMC was dope. Oh, could you imagine, by the way? I'd be taking so many selfies with that beam on my way out of the building. 1 a.m. with Brody. Oh my gosh, Pioneer. We got to get you some sleep. Yeah, so you're in the central time zone, huh? Oh, the Diamondbacks were a part of Bally's, too. So those Bally sports networks are obviously running into some issues. Eric says, as a Sacramento fan, I absolutely hate how freaking good Steph is, but it looks like things are starting to even put if the Kings or maybe get even. If the Kings can get right, they should be champions within the next 10 years. I don't even think 10. I think more like 5. I mean, in 10 years, Sabonis and Fox and Malik Monk are going to be pretty old, right? So I think you got to capitalize even sooner than 10 years. But no, look, I mean, the trend is definitely playing well for the Sacramento Kings, their players, their trajectory. There's no doubt about it that they're going the right direction. And honestly, I think the moves they've made all the way, just drafting players, coaching staff, they've really figured some things out. Here's I like this comment. Kevin, Vivek lives in Silicon Valley and commutes to Sacramento. Yeah, I happen to know about his airplane. So that's what I'm saying. Like, Vivek, I'll meet you at the airport. We'll fly into Sacramento Executive. We'll drive over to G1C. We'll watch the game. You fly me back. Actually, I think he flies maybe out of San Carlos or Palo Alto. Vivek, could you drop me off at Livermore? I've got some very firsthand experience with Livermore Airport. That'd be great. Look at me begging to go on the owner's private plane to a Sacramento Kings game on this channel. That is pathetic on my part. Please. It'd be fun, though. It's only 10 p.m. here in Alaska. It's amazing. It's probably been dark all day, though, right? In Alaska, I mean, isn't this the time of year? Aren't we about in 2 days? Aren't we about to have that time of year? Oh, look at me pull up the Geochron on that note. Aren't we about to have that time of year? Wait a second. Let's see here. Can I do a little? Yes. I'm down here, everybody. I'm in this little small box. This is a Geochron, by the way. It's like a world map, a live visual world map. What you're seeing, those little white dots, those are weather satellites. The yellow line is, I think, the International Space Station. The magenta line, Hubble telescope, maybe, something like that. Yeah, anyway, I forget exactly what they are. Oh, yeah, ISS, yeah. ISS is in gold. In fact, the ISS right now is just south of China, just east of India, I believe, if you can see that. And then the Hubble Space Telescope is actually over northern Australia right now. If you really would have to zoom in. But anyway, this is the time of year, I think in 2 days, this is the winter equinox? Winter solstice, summer. Ooh, I know I'm going to get ripped in the live chat here. It's the shortest sunlight day of the year in 2 days, December 21st. And I know that day there's a longest day of the year. Was that in May or June? Doesn't matter. Anyway, I think we're about to have that here pretty soon. But yeah, that's a look at the old Geochron here. You know what else? While I'm here, let me try this. Oh, something new. Oh wait, you know what? I see a problem with it. Here, let me fix one thing. Yeah, there's a lot going on here on the old live stream. Let me change the background on this. We'll do a nice splashy, colorful background. Okay, now let me do that one more time. Oh, there we go. Look at that. Look at I'm on two different. I'm up here. Wait, I'm on this camera. I'm on this camera. You've got the clock that just shows 11 o'clock, 11:03 p.m. here at Studio 6B. Yeah, that's what I'm calling it. Okay, yeah, there we go. June 21st, the summer solstice. How do I get back to this here? June 21st, the summer solstice, longest day of the year. Also the day Nabokov was traded. That's very specific knowledge. The sun set at about 4 p.m. today. Yeah, that is a downside, but in the summer we get to watch baseball, then go golf after games are over. That is awesome. That is awesome. Paul's watching from Los Gatos. Appreciate that. Watching from Colorado. Do I fly much in center airspace or mostly NorCal approach? Stogie, are you wondering like what kind of, if I'm flying good planes, I'm up in center, right? I'm talking to centers and not the Tracons, huh? No, I've been on NorCal approach a lot over the years. A little bit of Oakland center, Seattle center, LA center. Probably is it Denver center? Yeah, it must be. So is there Salt Lake Center too? It's been a while. I haven't been up in that airspace over those parts in a while, but mostly TRACON. I'm down in the non-pressurized zone. So there you go. 35-year air traffic controller here. You know what? Credit to you. I respect your work. I appreciate your work. It's important work. And no matter how routine it ever gets, just know that, you got all those lives in your hand and you're steering around a lot of important stuff. And pilots appreciate you. Passengers, if they fully knew, they would also very much appreciate you too. So thank you for your work. 35 years working, and Denver Center. Yeah, thanks. You got it. Worked at LA and Denver Center. All right. Well, I don't know if it's my computer or what. The live chat is moving here. It's not buzzing here to the point where maybe I would do another phone call or two, or if anybody really wants to jump in on the Q&A. Look, now's your time. Now's your time to really go in. Let me just see here. Oh yeah, I was gonna check in on the Sharks game. Oops, it's over. That's color bars. That was NBC sending me the feed of the hockey game tonight. Let's see what else we got here. I absolutely am. This is a live Q&A. I should, and maybe I'll take a couple more phone calls to really close things out. But I am taking questions. The chat got really slow, and I'm wondering, like, is it my interface? Did everybody just leave? Well, Sarah, it's mostly sports themed. There's a lot of specific stuff here on my channel, but you can ask anything you want that makes sense, that's reasonable. I'll say that. All right. You know what? Let me. Does everybody want to do? Oh, I like that chat. I like that chat. All hail Douglas Murray, old crankshaft. What are you going to do if the A's move to Vegas? Are you still going to support them? I'll cross that bridge when we get there. It's a really tough situation. Personally for me and professionally for me are two different things. I do have my morals. I do have objectives for my own life, things that I want to do. I love the Bay Area. Sure, I'd make the offer, triple the salary, private jet back to Las Vegas and back, penthouse suite at the MGM during the season when I cover the games. I don't think any of that's going to happen, so we can cross all that off. I will refrain from a full and complete answer on that. I think most people can easily predict where I stand on that. But again, the hard part for me is that it's personal and it's professional. So I don't really know what even the options would be. I'm going to assume there would be no option for me. If they move, for me, that's probably it. We'll see, though. Nothing has been procedural in this process. I appreciate you asking, though. It's also not at all in my control, to be clear, too. All right. Let's see what we got here. Sarah asking, do you think the media likes not talking about telling Artie Moreno, right, Angels owner, to sell than asking Trout to leave a team he's dedicated to? I'm an Angels fan. Okay, so, and I don't know maybe the full context here, but I do know that people have asked Mike Trout, do you really want to hang in there with the Angels? I mean, your buddy Ohtani's gone. Team hasn't been to playoffs since 2014. That's unreal. A team that's had Trout and Ohtani all these recent years and others and has spent and literally were buyers at the deadline last year. What were they doing? That was so misguided. But yeah, you're saying that the question can't be asked of ownership down there, but it can be asked of the star players. Like, do you want to leave? That is an interesting double standard. Sarah, I would also say that's probably, to your point, and I think what you're alluding to, that's an unfair standard. I don't think the media likes maybe that part of it. Maybe they can't get an answer. Maybe they're not allowed to ask that question or get that answer. Maybe that conversation is off the table. I don't know how much media Artie Moreno does. I just don't know. But I think at least, you know what? I'll say this, though. As much as Mike Trout may not like that question posed in his direction, if he truly wanted to get out, all he would have to do is say, yes, actually, I'm done here. Please get me out of here. Because I know that there would be some competition for other teams to get him on board. So appreciate the question there. Here's Adam in the super chat. Adam, thanks for checking in. Ooh, is that Canadian? $6, $6.99 in the super chat. Appreciate that, eh? Suggestion, interview with a Detroit Piston beat reporter about the personal cost of covering a historically bad team. Adam, you make such a good point. And it's funny, I actually did a video. I recorded it earlier today. It'll come out in a few days. It's the sports broadcasting series I've been working on. Kind of some advice and behind-the-scenes stuff for people who want to get into this business. And one of the things I said that I'm not sure everybody realizes, it's so much easier covering a team that just wins, either all the time or most of the time. And I'm somebody who's got a ton of experience with that. I mean, my first, 10 years covering the San Jose Sharks, win, go to the playoffs, try and win the cup. What is it? It's like eat, sleep, win, repeat. Eat, sleep, win, repeat. That's what they did. And that was the first 10 years I covered them. In the most recent 4 years, it's obviously gone a lot different. Some of their franchise lows have happened. They've not made the playoffs in a 4-year span, probably going to be 5 straight years. So there is, no doubt, a personal toll that is taken on not only people who cover the team, but people who work for the team and are around it, losing even though they have nothing to do with it. Even though I have, as a broadcaster, nothing to do with the result. I didn't get to play in the game. I would have lost the game if I would have played in it, baseball or hockey. But you feel like you've lost. The audience is then segmented and disgruntled, disjointed. It's not fun. It's hard. It's hard to make things interesting and compelling without being personal. There is a personal cost of covering historically bad teams. So I appreciate your suggestion. I mean, I think I could tell you a few things about it myself, but I agree that conversation would probably be educational for a lot of fans to understand that, being around something that doesn't go well, it can leave a scar, even if you're not really, firsthand connected to it. Wow, Erik Karlsson already moving on from the Penguins? I don't know much about that, and I don't want to jump on the speculation train, but, it's hard. For him to have this last season that he did, he was so good, start to finish, even on a really rough Sharks team, 101 points and just consistent, and the 4-point nights. How many 4-point nights did he have? So he's going to come down from that no matter where he went, but I get it. Pittsburgh has some urgency to try and capitalize on maybe the last couple Sidney Crosby years. Let's see what else we got here. Damn, Quest for 6 going in on Las Vegas. Soulless? I don't know. It's hard to gauge Las Vegas because really when you go there as a tourist, you don't really see Las Vegas. Technically, you see, Paradise, Nevada? Is that what the strip is called? But you don't really see proper Las Vegas. But then again, I mean, what is proper Las Vegas? We really don't know. Most people only know what they know about Las Vegas because, hey, they fly into the airport, they go hard for 2 nights, and then, 54 hours later, they're on a plane back out of there, right? So Let's see what we got here. Kings fan represent. All right, Jay Scott. Well, wait. What Kings? The LA Kings or the Sacramento Kings? Let's see here. Hey, Brody. Why have the A's not explored a move to San Rafael or a move to Napa to build a stadium there? I was there a few weeks ago, and I saw an A's fan coming out of the woodworks. Well, just because you saw one fan doesn't mean it's the right place to permanently locate your team. Let me actually just take your comment and twist it a little bit. People have wondered why other parts of the East Bay were never considered for the A's. I mean, hypothetically, what if they built a stadium somewhere around the 580, 680 corridor? Or up in Walnut Creek? I mean, some people have even said, go out to like Livermore, or even somebody said go on the other side of the Altamont Pass. There's a lot of land, but there's no people out there. I don't think that's the right answer. But there are some places, I think in the 925 area code, the 510 is pretty landlocked at this point. Really hard, and Fremont, that's already come and gone. People have also talked about Golden Gate Fields, but that also didn't make a lot of sense based on ingress, egress. Like 80 is your only freeway. It's just, it's a great view, probably be a great view. But I did a video on that, and I remember there were some problems with Golden Gate Fields. But we all got so tunnel visioned on obviously Howard Terminal and the Coliseum, and that's it. It's an interesting thought in retrospect. Did we miss other opportunities or other ideas and things that just never came to fruition? Was every last stone turned over on this? Just a thought. I mean, personally, I'm somebody who spends a lot of time in the 510 and 925 area codes, and I think a stadium in the 925 would do really well. Really well. Now, wouldn't be Oakland. Let's make that very clear. Nobody's trying to steal the team away from where they've had their home for 50 plus years. But what I'm saying is that kind of like in the same way that if Howard Terminal doesn't work, what's your safety option to keep the team local, to keep the team accessible? Because let's be honest, if you're up and down 880, whether it's El Cerrito, Albany, Berkeley, Emeryville, Oakland, San Leandro, San Lorenzo, Hayward, Fremont, Milpitas, whatever, Castro Valley, you'll still make a short drive like to Dublin to go watch the A's, if that's what it means to keep the A's, right? I don't think that would be a deal breaker for most A's fans if that's what it came to, right? If Oakland just couldn't work and you couldn't make it happen, I think most A's fans would have said, okay, fine, we'll change scenery here. But even that was never really considered. And I mean, look, people want to throw blame at this whole deal. Is it the A's fault? Is it City of Oakland's fault? I mean, Alameda County has now really entered the conversation in their sale of half the Coliseum land for way under market value. Nobody's been a hero in this. Nobody's been great in this at all. There are so many places to point the finger and put blame on. It's crazy. And I would say that if you want to say specifically the City of Oakland, I think they were behind the curve for a lot of years. There's no question about that. But I will say, in recent years, they dramatically caught up in getting approvals, getting, I say public money, but realistically getting the grant money from the from the state and federal level. Oakland caught up. And I'm still not saying they're perfect here and now, but who has been, if we're really being honest? Jim says, it's funny that you mentioned about the A's exploring the East Bay. I was thinking about the old Hilltop Mall property in Richmond, but it didn't make any sense. And like literally to your exact point right there, I mean, in the Hilltop Mall and the geography and the topography of it, right? We all know where it sits. Could you actually put a ballpark there? We've already talked about Las Vegas, like 9 acres, definitely going to be a tight squeeze. But are there other places that we just flat out missed or didn't think about? in the East Bay and in the Bay Area region entirely that should have been considered. And now look where we're at, right? The approvals are there. The money is there elsewhere. We'll see where it goes. Jim, I really appreciate you being in the Super Chat, and hopefully I get to your questions right away. As soon as anybody jumps in the Super Chat, I pretty much prioritize them. I lived in Manteca, and I've got relatives. Oh, sorry, that was maybe a chat from one person to another that I jumped in there. A's in Richmond? Well, I just don't know where the land opportunities are. And technically, that was another thing about Golden Gate Fields. I think Golden Gate Fields is currently half in Berkeley and half in Albany. So not only you'd have to deal with like two government entities to get approval and all that stuff. The whole Coliseum land deal is very like Skydome. And you know what? I just saw pictures the other day of Skydome. I didn't realize that, what they did in center field last winter was like phase 1. Now they're doing phase 2, and I think there's a phase 3. They are totally overhauling that facility. It's very similar to what they did with Madison Square Garden, the NBA and NHL arena in downtown New York. It's the Coliseum, though, to me, it didn't have the right bones that the Skydome had. Remember, the Skydome only went up in 1988 or 9, late 80s, early 90s. So it's not that old. It's fixable. The location, it makes it worth being fixable. But also, like at the Coliseum, there's tons of land around the current stadium that you could build on the north side or the south side. So you have a blank canvas on either side. That the A's literally own half that land and still decided against moving forward on it. It's amazing, right? That some teams would look at their stadium and say, okay, we are going to gut this place. We're going to fix it up. We're going to do it exactly how we want it. We'll be in control of it. We own it. We make all the money off it. Let's do this. That's certainly not the case of what A's fans are witnessing right now. Hey, 5 pounds. Michael, you must be checking in from overseas. Is it tomorrow where you're at? Is it like 7 in the morning? Let me do a quick, yeah, look at that. The sun is coming up in Europe right now. That's awesome. Glad you're here. Okay, let's go back to the Super Chat. Could the Howard Terminal plan work at any of the Las Vegas sites? The Howard Terminal plan, I don't know what you're referring to. It's a much bigger plot of land. It's like 55 acres versus 9. Howard Terminal was going to be a privately financed ballpark, entirely privately financed. The infrastructure was going to come from public grants and funding that Oakland has already went out and attained like around $500 to $600 million to fix up the infrastructure around the stadium. The site of Howard Terminal is a place in Oakland that needs some attention, needs some work, no matter what, baseball stadium or not. The Tropicana Hotel probably needs to be demolished, but that's up to the owners of that facility and site. There's nothing around the Tropicana Hotel site that needs like instant improvements. It's not really a redevelopment area or project. And so that's kind of a thing when, public money was thrown that way. Usually that's something that's reserved for, infrastructure improvement areas like Howard Terminal. Not necessarily like the Tropicana Hotel site, 35 acres, that's going to continue making money, even if it's the old, beat up, broke down Tropicana Hotel. That site is still going to make money no matter what. So if you're asking, could the plan work at any of the Las Vegas sites? It really is apples and oranges based on funding, public money, intentions, ambitions. It literally is two totally different things. Bay Photo wondering, what do you think Fisher does with his half of the Coliseum now that he's agreed to pay? Use it for leverage. Well, I'll just refer back to what team president Dave Kaval wrote in a letter March of 2018 to then Oakland Mayor Libby Schaaf. And I'll summarize here. I can't quote it, but off the top of my brain, it was that the A's need to purchase this entire site. They were trying to buy the city and the county's half, both of them for about $130 million. Turns out they bought the county's half for $85 million. They wanted the only site, they said, in Oakland that offered an assured path to a privately financed ballpark and the team staying. That's why they bought the land. And I think Alameda County thought that they were doing a good deed by giving the A's a lower price and just wiping their hands and being done with sports and saying, hey, I hope this works out for you. Stay at the Coliseum. We'll be the good guys here in giving you this deal so you can stay. And then, about a month plus ago, at the end of those owners' meetings, John Fisher was asked by somebody from the LA Times, what do you plan on doing with the Coliseum site? And he kind of said, well, let me make it clear. And again, to paraphrase what he said, it was never our intention to use the Coliseum as a alternative for Howard Terminal. Well, that completely contradicts what Dave Cavill's letter, like literally in black and white. We've got the letter. It exists. It completely contradicts it. So I tell you all this, Bayphoto, thank you so much for being in the super chat, because I don't even think they know really what they want to do with it yet. Mr. Fisher went on to say that we bought the land and we want to purchase it because we're buying into Oakland. We thought the future of Oakland would be great, and we want to invest this money in the stadium at Howard Terminal. But other people said, well, maybe they need to develop the Coliseum to pay for Howard Terminal. Maybe their intentions have changed over time on all this. But I think your point, your last sentence there, use it for leverage, kind of no matter what they do, that's almost implied. What I'm saying is I don't even know that they have a specific, we're going to do this plan with this site. They just kind of want to have it in their back pocket so that they know it gives them more options. Just owning the site for that price, that value, when people wondered, will they pay up? Will they pay the $45 million that they owe? It's like I said in a video the other day, it's almost like the buy one, get one free deal. And you said, you know what, the get one free? I don't want that. Who does that? When you're getting a good deal, take the good deal. And that's what they did. Also want to point out too that, and this was referenced to me after the fact, that the A's next payment on the $45 million remaining was $15 million that was due in January of 2024, no matter what. So in reality, although it's $45 million instantly, basically by May, the 15 that was already due, that was already probably put aside anyway. So the team really was only going to owe about 30 extra million by May 14th, I think it is, which is interesting because everybody saw that Gap stock that got sold, about $38 million worth, I think. Was that the amount? 30-something million, 32 million, somewhere in the 30s. That stock got sold, and so that's extra money floating around. Was that to pay off the Coliseum land purchase? Who knows? Don't want to speculate on that, but I see why people would put those two things together. Kevin also here in the super chat saying, how are you and Casey able to speak critically of the A's relocation while working for their network stations? Appreciate both of your reporting. First of all, Casey's a hack. Don't ever listen to anything he says. Just kidding. Come on. I'm just making sure everybody's awake still. I've known Casey a long time. Casey and I communicate on a pretty regular basis. Casey's worked for Channel 7 and everything he does on social, that's independent of the A's. There's no real working relationship. Me, on the other hand, as the host of the pre- and post-game show, I have a little bit of a different situation. I've been told, by work, just be honest, be upfront, understand what may be professional and what would be unprofessional in your situation. And nobody's ever really checked me on it. And what I'm saying, I'm not trying to say, I do whatever I want. That's not it at all. I'm saying that I'm trying to see all of this from a logical sense. I'm trying to be straightforward. I am trying to be super professional about this. Quite honestly, the questions that I ask, and that's a big part of basically what I'm doing here. just asking questions. There's not usually an agenda that, oh, like I have some idea and I'm going to bring this to the table. Usually it's me just sitting back in this process. Honestly, I sit back, I wait, I watch for stuff to happen, and I say, that doesn't make sense. Or, oh, I see why they're doing that. Or I put one thing from here together with this over here. I try and, at least present them. A lot of times I'm not privy anymore to behind the scenes details, but I see obvious things and I just want to present them to you. So to be very honest, when it says here, speak critically, I think I'm asking critical questions. And if that stands the test of time, that's probably the best I can do in this situation, is to just be open and honest about things. And like I said, to be professional about them. I don't think, the personal versus professional line for me is something that I don't even want to cross. Nobody has to tell me not to. I want to keep it professional. I want the respect. I want the dignity of trying to do this and document this in the right way. So, Kevin, I appreciate the question there. All right. Let's see here. Oh, there was somebody who said here. Spencer says, also not sure if you've already addressed this in your coverage, but it doesn't seem like there's anything prohibiting the A's buying more land at the Tropicana site. That part, Spencer, has been very interesting because it's always been 9 acres, right? The 9 acres were free. The 9 acres, in fact, come with, I think, $175 million of funding to help demolish the site. But I'm wondering if Bally's and GLPI has set that firm number at 9, to your point, to say, okay, well, you need 13 acres because, most ballparks, what you're trying to build, they need that space. We'll sell it to you for $25 million an acre. Because I think they said $20 million an acre is kind of the going price right now. Is that right? It wasn't $200 million an acre, was it? No, that's too much. Although it is the Las Vegas Strip, I'm trying to remember what the exact price per acre was. Anyway, the point being, maybe there's probably nothing prohibiting it, but if you're also Bally's and GLPI, you've given away free land, and you still need that valuable property. Like they want to use a Major League Baseball team and a stadium and fans who they hope will come in and out of their facility every night. Like they want foot traffic. They want to make money off all that. Yeah, come to the game, and then afterwards, come to our steakhouse, go out to our nightclub, pull that slot machine handle until it literally falls right off, lose all your money at the poker table. That's what Bally's and GLPI wants, right? So I don't think there's any limitation on the A's buying more, but I think it's probably going to come at market value. That's a hefty cost per acre. It would add on to the expense of the project, but also, like I said, the reason it's valuable land and expensive land is because Bally's and GLPI, they want to hang on to the 26 acres they kept. They don't want to just give more of that away. They're trying to make this a profitable deal for them too. Just curious, Brody, is half the Coliseum... Hope you know I'm laughing because the Coliseum site is it 120 acres? Let's just do the math here real quick. Let's go to our friend Google Earth. Let's map this bad boy out. You know what's funny here is the very first thing that pops up. Okay, how do I do this here? Picture in picture with the Mac. There we go. The first thing that pops up here is a site I was looking at. This was called the All Net site. It's where they wanted to build an NBA stadium, an NBA arena in Las Vegas. It's right next to the Stratosphere is right over here. Yep, there you go. Anyway, that was the last thing I looked at here on Google Earth. Oakland Coliseum. Let's go there now. All right, let's do the math here. I think is it 120 total acres? Is it more than that? Let's whip around here. Let's go entirely 2. Oh, no, I want 2D. Hang on. It's easier if I do it like this. Sorry, I'm getting everybody dizzy by spinning you around. How can I also make this part go away? View. No, I don't need this part on the left. I feel like an old person now because I'm like, how do I get this thing off my screen? I just don't want this part. Anyway, all right, well, let me zoom out and then just measure it here. Okay, so should we use the Malibu lot in our oh, and of course I'm going to cover the measure here. Let me take myself off the screen here. Okay, so let's go line there. Just kind of doing a rough measurement here. Miss some spots, gain some spots. Okay, 110.2 acres, but I actually think it's more than that. 10,000 foot perimeter, 110.2 acres. I always thought it was 120. Anyways, isn't that amazing, right? Like, you talk about 9 acre site, and the entire Coliseum is 110.2 acres. Okay, here's the crazy one. Let's take this off for a second. Let's just measure out the Malibu lot, which is right here. This is where the Oakland Roots want to build their new stadium. So let me come over here, measure that. I think this is somewhere around 9 acres. Oh, look at that. This site that the Oakland Roots want to build on is 10 acres. So that's what 10 acres looks like. Here, let me subtract an acre. 2, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. There you go. That's 9 acres right there. I mean, that's the Coliseum. And that's a total of 9 acres. And this also would have to have like a retractable roof on it too. And I get that's a weird shape right there, but it just goes to show you what the Oakland Roots are asking for and trying to do is actually an acre bigger, than the Roots Stadium. Anyway, oh, I see. You know what? Oh my gosh. You asked that sarcastically, didn't you? I forgot to look at the smiley face, the crying smiley face. I went and gave you a real answer. It must be time for Brazil to wrap it up. Oh my gosh, streaming for 2 hours here? It's definitely time. I've lost it. And now I can't even get in on my own chat page here. There we go. I'd rather see Celine Dion in Vegas than the A's. Well, and that's a real other thing that competition, the A's have always said, well, the Giants are our competition. Oracle Park is our competition. Imagine when it's like U2 and Tiesto up the street and Celine Dion or whoever else is performing or having a show on any given night up and down the strip. I get it. There's a lot of people there, but there's also a lot of competition for entertainment. You just wasted $5. I think. No, it's only $4.99 at Bay Photo. I appreciate that. I do it to support Brody, not wasted. In my humble opinion. Oh, I appreciate that, Bay Photo. That's awesome of you. Excalibur. Whoa, throwing the shade on Excalibur. Maybe they should tear down Excalibur first. RD, Tesla's going to build a loop under the stadium. Let me just ask you something about the old loop, the old Tesla loop. People laughed at a gondola in Oakland. What's so different about an underground tunnel for electric cars, whether it's Las Vegas or anywhere? If you want to move a bunch of people, I don't know that a gondola is the best answer, but I certainly don't know that a tunnel is the best answer. How does that work? How do you get that volume of people? Like even buses carry more people than 2 Teslas at a time or whatever they run through those tunnels. Like that, you don't get it. Unless we're talking multi-lane, completely automated, and it's just a constant flow of people, like a subway is way more efficient than running single cars through a tunnel. And again, I know Las Vegas isn't the only place that has the idea of the Boring Company and the whole loop thing. I'm very up to speed on it, but I still do not understand why it's any different than a gondola. If people laughed at a gondola, they should probably laugh at the loop. Trying to hit all MLB stadiums will just have to add to the list wherever they end up. Well, you might have to add in Sacramento and San Francisco and Salt Lake City. Who knows where they'll end up, to be quite honest with you. Do it metric will be faster. I screwed that up. I screwed up that whole demonstration. I really did. The Boring Tunnel is half-baked. Oh, it's baked all right. Let's see what else we got here. What's up, Windy City Hockey? Elon Musk is going to buy out the Coliseum site. Okay. That would be interesting. Spencer, I appreciate you being in the super chat. I don't know much about the Spanos family or that whole situation. Tough one. Obviously, like the Chargers had no problem moving, right? So I see at least that parallel. I don't know any other ones, to be perfectly honest with you. Yeah, some places online say the Coliseum complex has 155 acres, and maybe I just wasn't accounting for the entire land. Maybe there is actually more land that's part of it. I think 120 is more of the accurate buildable land all in one space. And I think I undercut it there by about 10 acres. I'm not sure what property I missed, but I think it's 100 maybe they're counting the area across the freeway that's open space, but I think it's 120 acres. All right, let's see what else we got here. The Tesla tunnels are awesome in Vegas. Okay, so somebody please explain to me, what is the amount of passengers it can carry? How is it so efficient? How many people use it? How many people can it move? If you can give me some amazing, if anybody, before I go tonight, that's the only one thing I need before I sign off tonight. What is the volume of passengers we're talking about here with the Tesla Loop? Is that what it's called? Whatever the loop system is called. Sorry, I'm just getting my conclusion graphic ready to go, because I will be wrapping it up. Yeah, put in some overtime. It's been a night, Johnny T. It really has. Good night. A lot of good chat and conversation here. So I appreciate everybody that's been a part of it. Oh, there's a plan involving demolition for the Tropicana, Excalibur, and Luxor. Wow. Which is interesting. The Luxor was only went up in the 90s, I think, right? Excalibur, it was, but there, yeah. You can tell those two properties were not built in the same era as like the Bellagio or anything kind of, north of that. Those ones just, I had a hard time standing the test of time. Interesting you say that, Michael. I wasn't aware of that. I don't know the legitimacy of that, if it's rumors or speculation or actuality, but I wouldn't be surprised. Obviously, that land is valuable. The hotels have stood there for, 20, 30, 60 years, whatever. And these things, they have a short shelf life. I wouldn't be surprised, but that'd be a lot of work. That's a lot of land also. I mean, there's a lot of blank canvas down there, so wouldn't shock me. And what's right next to it? The Mandalay Bay down there too. I see somebody else here that said, I missed. Please read the chat about the Sky Dome deal. You skipped it. Oh, I didn't see. Was that from earlier, maybe? Please read the earlier chat. There's Adam again about the super chat, about the Sky Dome. I missed it, Adam. If you want to put it back in there again, that'd be great. But any chance? Maybe this one? Any chance? Oh, gosh, that one got cut off there. Any chance the A's new stadium will have similar characteristics as the Blue Jays Rogers Center? Blue Jays Stadium has a hotel connected to it and a retractable roof. Have I been to Rogers Center? I absolutely have. For a baseball game and CFL football games. It's a marvel. It sits on a lot more than 9 acres, I'll tell you that. I know that for sure. I've measured it out. I don't know if that's the comment on Rogers Center or Sky Dome. It's worth fixing. It's worth saving. It's worth upgrading. Like, it's got the right bones. I said that earlier. It's got the right bones to fix. I'm not sure that the Coliseum ever had that chance or should have that chance. Let me see what else here. I'm looking for that Toronto comment, but I don't see it. Whatever happened to the idea about a stadium being built at the Rio? I think the A's had a hard time negotiating deals with the festival ground site, the Rio hotel site. I thought that was the front runner for the longest time. And then when that Wild Wild West site popped up, it's like, what? That was kind of out of nowhere. People forgot about that. That was a binding deal for 2 weeks. So I think that kind of set a tone of even what we're witnessing right now with uncertainty. People automatically assume that there's got to be something else going on because we've already witnessed it once in 7 or 8 months in Las Vegas. Let me see here. Okay. According to, Stephanie Allen, 1.2 million passengers have gone through the current Convention Center and Resorts World Loop system in the past 2 years, said peak capacity one day and 4,500 in 1 hour. Right. And that's why people laughed. Hypothetically, and okay, so I appreciate that, the bro goes, appreciate that. So if peak capacity is 4,500 in an hour, like even the gondola that was suggested in Oakland was going to have, I think, 6,000 or 8,000 in an hour. And people laughed that off. Like, how are you going to get enough people that you need to go to the stadium on this gondola? I still don't get it. And thank you for the info. I'm gonna do some more research on it, by the way. But Rio's being refurbished, not likely an option anymore. Well, maybe it is. There's still a bunch of land out there. And if they're refurbishing something that already exists, see, this is the complication of it. If the A's had moved to the Rio site, if that was their thing, you already know those towers stand there, how the land lays. They're not really probably going to demolish anything. They're only going to improve the hotel and the site and build around what's already there. In the case of Tropicana, it's all happening at the same time. They're going to level the entire place, give the A's the 9 acres on the southeast corner, and redo everything from scratch. Now, maybe you like redoing everything from scratch, but it adds a level and a layer of complexity in this that would make it even easier just at the Rio. Plus, I think there's a lot more land at the Rio site. Well, I don't know that I see the comment on the Sky Dome, so I just looked it up on Google, the Tesla Loop. It's a 5-passenger station tunnel system. And yeah, like I said before, if it's only several thousand per hour, like peak capacity, even the A's Stadium at 30 or 33,000, I mean, it needs a lot more than like an hour. 4,500 an hour? That's just not going to cut it. It's not going to make a dent. Did I see or hear Paul Sewald's interview on Foul Territory the other day? If so, what's your take on his perception as a Vegas resident to the A's potential move to his town? Josh, thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to promote what's coming out tomorrow on the channel. I recorded that video today, actually. So I will save and reserve my comments for the video that's coming out. And I hope you check it out. I think it's worthwhile. I do have some thoughts on it. And I think under most cases, you take what any athlete says with a grain of salt. They're nomadic by nature. They go from one team to the next. They don't care about Oakland or Las Vegas. They don't want to get in the middle of this mess. But Paul is from Las Vegas. And he had some very specific comments and thoughts about the A's coming there, potentially. So I reacted to it. I'll share that video tomorrow, I think, when it comes out. Sewald hasn't lived in Vegas in years. I mean, I think when he was doing the interview the other day, he said here as in like Las Vegas. Look, when he or Bryce Harper talks about Las Vegas, it's no different than me talking about the Bay Area. I'm from here. In my case, I've spent my whole life here, haven't really moved away. They've been away for different professional reasons, but, you know, that's the point. Like, I trust what they say a lot more. They need to expand the monorail and not deal with the Tesla tunnels. Yeah, it's, again, the loop sounds cool, is cool, but, I mean, and I'm sure the Boring Company does great work. I'm sure the tunnels are luxurious. Tesla's a great car. There's no question about that. But I just don't know how efficient that all is. Swimmin says, I think a lot of people are taking Sewald's comments out of context, to be honest. He didn't seem opposed to the A's moving, more so focused on their lack of a new Vegas identity. So I did address that in the video, Swimmin, and I'll say this. The two main points that he made were this. Number one, he doesn't see how it's going to be successful in terms of attendance. He just doesn't see how the amount of tourists will travel for it, the amount of locals will be there, why they wouldn't just go see the Aviators instead, how the A's will be able to charge so much more unless they actually have a much different team than their AAA team. So that's one thing he said. The other part, which you referenced that he said, was about the name and likeness of the team. He said he'd rather not have the A's come into town and use that name anymore. He thinks from the Vegas perspective that it'll go a lot better with a clean slate for the team's name. So those are clearly the two things he talked about, and I agree. It might get misconstrued a little bit when people say, well, here's what he said. He did say both things, that he was not certain about its success from the popularity standpoint and the business standpoint, but also not really fond of carrying the team name over. All right. Oh, couple last ones here. If you had to guess, what is the San Francisco Giants' next big move in free agency? Man, the Yoshinobu Yamamoto deal is like that. Now that's the one that's holding everybody up. I'll tell you what I would hope for instantly, and I'm realizing now how much easier this is. If you want to, I made a video about this the other day. If you want to win the winter, and you're the Giants, you've already got one Scott Boras client, Jung-Hoo Lee, right? Go ahead and add Blake Snell. Go ahead and add Matt Chapman. Both Boras guys. I didn't realize Blake Snell was also a Boras guy. Now you've made it an interesting winter. Now you've made your team more competitive. So, and you don't even need to worry about Yamamoto. I mean, he's going to get courted. He's going to get big bank. Is there a problem with lack of water at the Las Vegas site? Specifically, I don't know. If they're having that problem down there, and Adam, thank you for the question. I know that's an issue in the Southwest right now, but that has not, I've followed this so closely. That's not been brought up, not even a single time yet. So I'm going to say that probably not. I know it's an issue for some, and you can't water your lawn, can't plant certain new plants, all that, but plot twist, Flava Flav buys the A's from Fisher after the move. Oh, there you go. All right. I am done for the night. Thank you so much to all of you who have been here for, some of you have been here for, I've been here for 2 hours, and I'm pretty sure some of you have been there the entire time, or at least most of it. So on a Tuesday night, during the holidays here, I really appreciate it. Thanks for all the support on the channel. Everybody that was in the super chat tonight, you were awesome. Some phone calls we took. I'll probably repost some of the videos and the best parts of this stream tomorrow, but new video coming out tomorrow. New videos almost every day. And again, I appreciate each and every one of you. All right. Have a good night, everybody. Be safe. I'll see you next time.